How do you learn who you really are? It's not found in books. It's found on the battlefield. What's up, Warriors? Welcome back to the Battlefield of the Mind. This is Rick from the Warriors Way Mindset. Today, I am with a very awesome warrior who you've gotten a chance to see some of the stuff online, and we're going to go into a lot of stuff. So I'm here with Sumi Basani, and as much as I want to try and say who you are, why don't you go ahead and give them a short clip of like, who is this guy? Because your people know you. My people may or may not know you, and they don't know me. So let's go ahead and jump in.
I appreciate you for having me on. So I'm a coach. Okay. There's a lot of different types of coaches out there in the world. I work in a lot of different areas. Many coaches that you'll see on the internet are very specific and niched out into maybe, relationships, maybe finance, maybe, a coach to help you lose certain amounts of weight. I kind of work in a lot of areas, and the main topic that I mainly focus on is a lot of dating, relationships, mental health, I would say, is the biggest area. So people generally call me a life coach, but I've mainly focused on mental health.
Yeah, you and me are going to love this. Now, here's the thing that I hear people say the most common right now. This dating world is a shit show. What a mess out there. Mm-hmm. It is bananas. All right, let's just go right into where you've been expertising for a while here with this relationship thing. You have a lot of stuff on relationships. What's your biggest, what grinds my gears that we need to fix real quick? Where would you start?
The biggest thing that's a problem with the dating world today is that men and women have kind of been pitted against each other. I think that social media ruined it for women, and I think that pornography ruined it for men. Because the problem is with social media, the biggest problem is men and women are always blaming each other for, if men would just do this, if men would just do that, and then guys are always like, all these girls out here are like this. That is really where it becomes a problem, because you have to understand that fundamentally people need one another. The problem is more so with the modernization of a society, you begin to have a neutralization of gender roles. And in a primitive biological sense, we are really designed to operate in, I don't want to say like women should cook and clean and stuff like that and guys should make the money, but there are certain rules and certain parameters that we excel at in a relationship. And when you have the neutralization, you have so many people that operate in different areas, and there's so many Back in the day, it used to be sex and children for provision and protection. That was generalistically what it is. A lot of guys were good catches for women because men made money. And a lot of women were great catches for men because, first off, infidelity was a lot lower for women. Men were exclusively the cheaters. Men were cheating at about a rate about 30 to 40%, and it depends on the day and age you look at it. And so men were the ones that were in infidelity, which is not good. But women really didn't have those problems. And when you married a girl, it was, this is my wife, this is how it goes. And that's what it was. Nowadays, women are able to make a lot more money, which is a wonderful thing. But you would think in a perfect world that, hey, we have 2 incomes per household. We're able to make more money. We have 41 types of contraception. We're able to do whatever we want, whenever we want. We have this promiscuity, this third wave feminism where we can wear whatever clothes we want and do whatever we need to do. But actually, women are more unhappy than ever before. And the problem becomes more so with, okay, you have women making an average of, let's say, about $50,000 a year in the United States. And women on average want a man that makes about 36% more money than they make. They want a man that's taller, stronger, more powerful, more developed, that can guide them. In a financial aspect, in a capitalistic world, we want people that make more money. But the thing is, women are making just as much money as men. So 36% more, you're looking at about $70,000. If you want a guy that's 5'10", making $70,000, that doesn't have kids, that really isn't unattractive, you're talking about 1.5% of men. And so that is where it becomes difficult. So now women can take care of themselves and do everything that they want to do for themselves. And we don't see women stepping out in the dating market unless it's for those really high caliber men. Because if they want to date, they're going to have to do it for the right type of guy, not somebody that they have to take care of and someone that has to be their equal. Then you have women going for this 5-10% of men that are making a lot of money, that are doing well. This is where the problem arises, because now these 5-10% of men have access to all the women out there, and they develop short-term, Machiavellian, narcissistic, really, let me hook up with you and throw you to the side dating strategies. So there's bad on both sides. And so these girls get their heart broken. They go through problems in the relationship, and they bring this baggage to the average guy when they quote unquote settle down, or they redefine their standards of what it is. And then you have problems in the relationship because she's experienced this lifestyle or this thing with this guy, and now these other guys have to deal with it. And so it's never a fully cohesive relationship. And so social media creates a standard of what we should have in life. we should want to travel, we should have this house, we should want this Ferrari. Women, a lot of times, their relationship really focuses on acquiring power, and it can be materialistic in a sense. Men look at women that are AI generated. They have edits, they have filters. Real women don't look like the women you see on social media. And so their standard of what sexuality is, their primary focus becomes very unrealistic. And they want a woman that does this, and they watch pornography, which 90% of porn has some kind of violent behavior. It has you hooking up with the office assistant. There's a joke, if for all the guys in the community, there's like, stepbrother, I'm stuck, and it's literally like a woman that's stuck in like a dryer or something like that, and the guy just takes advantage of it. It's literally rape. And so you have these guys that want this power dynamic of submit to me and be this way, and women are now more able to do anything, and they don't want to submit. And you have where now the genders are fighting. So relationships are at a 55% rate of failure with marriage. 15% results in separation, which is pretty much like divorce in a sense, but it's just a legal way of getting back whenever you want to. And then you have 7 to 8% of marriages that don't divorce because they just don't believe in it. So you only have about a 22% success rate. And in that 22% success rate, there's a spectrum of I'm really happy, and then I'm kind of satisfied, and I'm okay. And the really happy people are about 5 to 10%. So I think marriage in itself is a wonderful thing. I think that people coming together is a wonderful thing if it works, but a lot of that is starting to decline. So I hope that kind of gave you a general idea of it.
All right. I think we have enough here to go for 2 hours. All right. So we got a lot of stuff in here that you dropped in. Everything from social media and porn, which I think is important to talk about. The things that we're looking for, the roles in relationships, how it started off with simplicity, saying sex and children, which is a big deal, by the way. The same thing with protect and provide, big deal. These are very big deals. But then how women were upset about the pay gap, and if we had power, and then now they have power, and then what are we doing with it? Because now it's equal. That's what you wanted, right? But, well, he needs to be making 36% more than me. Now we get into hypergamy. Most people don't even know what the fuck hypergamy even means. We don't know what that is. Yet we're describing it word for word right now. And then we're getting into the average of what people think is normalized is really the single digit percenters. And we're like, well, hold on a second. That's not average. That's the way above average. That's the elite area, but we think that's the regular. And then we have to get into like this power and then what we're attracted to thing. And then like, listen, I'm not as plugged into the porn world, but like the I'm stuck brother thing, that's crazy. Where you're like, this is a rape video. Yeah. This is not but I mean, like where you said, like, these are the fantasies. These are the things that if I were to like have endless access to whatever dime piece stepsister is stuck in a dryer or whatever the scenario is, you're like, I can live through that fantasy, and that can somehow be a thing. There's it's very interesting when you get into these pieces here. Let's start off with like the big one. Let's crush how social media and porn, I would argue, equally destructive. And I would argue this is where women are like, social media is not as bad as porn. I'd be like, whenever I look at the comparison curses and how women operate, I would argue that there's a lot of damage being done. What do you think?
I think, okay, let's start off with porn. Porn is very destructive, but porn is so normalized. So like back in the day, there's like nudie mags and there's stuff that you can get under your parents' bed. Now it's accessible 24/7 on your cell phone in ways that we can't even imagine. It's every category, it's every type, it's every single thing that you can possibly think of. And it's honestly amazing. The porn industry is a $100 billion industry. And what people don't really understand about the porn industry is that it's a very fake industry. It's a very flawed industry. And you'll see like in 2018, we had like, I think 30 of the top porn stars that off themselves because the industry is so demanding. And so it's very dark. Porn, it gives you a large dopamine flux. Like men are really the major watchers of porn. 3 out of the top 10 sites visited on the internet, 30% of the internet traffic are porn sites. It is so watched. It's crazy. So, and men are really victims to it. I remember being young, being like 12 years old and going home. And after my father passed away, my mom, we moved, she worked all the time. So I was home alone a lot. And I would go and be excited to go watch this stuff. It was the craziest thing to me. And the average age of that people are introduced to pornography, men, especially children, is 9.5. Okay. So it's crazy. They're exposed at 9.5. And it's like, do we have these conversations with children about, hey, this is what's going on in the world, Jimmy? We don't know, because technology now, it's more available than ever. And the other thing is, our society is a lot more sexualized. Within 10 minutes of watching porn, you see more naked women than men historically have ever seen their entire lives. It's insane. And you're seeing women that are perfect, that are curved, that are just unrealistically designed. And it creates this unrealistic expectation. The dopamine that you get from it, you're not doing any work. You're not talking to women. You're not interacting with them. There's no work done to get this girl in your life to get that release. And then you have men that are very frustrated. They believe that women should just come and do this and that, and they're not getting it in real life, because the women in real life are operating in high levels of hypergamy, which we talked about. They want the elite man. So you have these sexually frustrated guys, just crazy. And this is where you get men that are dangerous. This is where you get, I have a weird theory of like why we have the school shootings and the violence and the craziness we have. And I think a lot of it has to do with sexual frustration for men, because primarily in a biological concept, men are really focused on reproduction. The reason our species exists today is the raw level of pressure that men have for reproduction. That's the strongest force biologically. Men do everything for reproductive purposes. And because men have about 15 to 20 times of the amount of testosterone, depending on what study you're looking at, men have a lot more testosterone than women, and testosterone itself is a libido boosting hormone. So now you have men that are sexually frustrated. They care a lot more about sex, and they're not getting access. They're getting less and less access every single generation from women, because the average guy, he was nice. She'll be like, oh, he's a nice guy. He has a good job. I'm going to go for him. But nowadays, it's like what kind of car he drives, especially in a younger generation. I recently did a interview video. You'll see it on YouTube, where I interviewed about 5 to 10 girls, very attractive young girls, on what they want in dating. And I asked a question too: what is the minimum income requirement that you want for your man? You would be surprised at these answers. 150,000, $500,000, 1 to 2 million would be good. It is insane. And you're talking about the 1%ers, maybe even less than 1%ers in certain categories. And then no man can really provide that lifestyle. So when men are very sexually frustrated and they're watching porn, it's like almost like they want a steak and they're getting tofu, and they're just not satisfied, which causes them to get into very dangerous behaviors and become very emotional, because that need is not being satisfied and it's being artificially fed. And it's a bad dopamine pathway. Then you have social media. Social media is bad for men too. But as someone that has a large social media following, I get a ton of DMs every day, and I get how an 18-year-old girl can get her head inflated. Like, I know girls that have maybe half or maybe a tenth of the following that I do. They get messages that are way more vulgar, that are way more desperate, because now you have all these sexually frustrated guys DMing these girls like, I'll marry you, I'll do anything, I'll do this to XYZ with you. And they get their head inflated, their egos, and it feeds into the delusion mindset of, I can get any guy I want. And social media also creates a very comparative norm. Women are in competition, not even with men, but with each other. And it's very quiet and it's very subtle. And it's always, I'm traveling here, I'm getting this back, I'm getting treated like this. And so social media creates a very dark mindset, a very egotistical mindset for a lot of women, a very narcissistic mindset. And I think that more than ever, we have a lot of female narcissists, and we have a lot of men that at the top level, that if you're an elite 1% type guy, you are getting everything. You are at the top level of power. I mean, a lot of my friends that are athletes and that are celebrities per se, they have more access to women than ever before. If you were a top 1% guy back in the day, you could get girls around your town. If you're a top 1% guy today, you can get any girl in the world, like whatever you want instantly. And so it creates this very, very, like how the pay gap is per se. It's like a social gap. It's a sex gap. And I think social media women care a lot about clout, about social media. It's a powerful currency. It is the comparison factor, because when women are young, typically under the age of 30, I'd say, just generally, their major source of happiness, unfortunately, comes from the way that society treats them, from their beauty, from the attention that they receive, the validation and verification. That's their strongest negotiating factor, sexual agency. And so as a woman becomes older, she then begins to redefine her standard of what she evaluates her life at, typically with children. And that's where it becomes a thing. But a lot of women are unable to have really fulfilling, stable relationships with their husbands because they've experienced so much pull from their 20s. They've kind of blown their 20s away, and they're just perpetually unhappy. The marriages are not stable. It's like 81% of women have children. now, but about 37% of men have kids. So now you're realizing women have the same baby daddy. That's really what it's coming down to. Men have multiple baby mamas. And that means that women are sleeping with the same guy. And so now you're having this motion where a lot of women are going back to the same guy, and they're unhappy because they're told and taught, I should be monogamous by society standard, which is advantageous, but they're not getting it because they're going for unrealistic things. So pornography kills it for men because it creates unrealistic expectations, and social media creates it for women because it creates unrealistic expectations of what they should want. And they both feed into each other. Social media, in a lot of ways, even certain applications like TikTok, it's literally like soft porn. You know, you see stuff, these dances, you see, I'm scrolling through TikTok lives and I see like literally like 18-year-olds in bed, just, it's like soft porn. It literally is. And when you're seeing so many, like if you look at my social media, I don't follow any Instagram models or anything like that unless I personally know them and work with them. And I don't engage in that stuff, but there's so much sexual energy that's coming into your head. And for women, there's so many Ferraris, Lambos, yachts, this, that. And you're typically engaging in social media when you're on the toilet, when you're in the shower, and you're bored out of your mind. So it makes people are posting the best moments of their life, and you feel like complete garbage because you're not there. You're not on a yacht in Mykonos. You're not in a nightclub in Miami. You don't have 10 girls around you because you're not making $1 million a day. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah, we got a lot of pieces here. So, man, this is tough for people because I really enjoy that you talked about hypergamy the way that is. I don't think people necessarily may know what that means too, by the way, and maybe your listeners know and some of mine do, but just hypergamy, by the way, is the way that women choose a man. Like that's just the rating system. Now, it is shaped like a pyramid. It is. The top guys, like you said, have the most options. And then as you start going down, those guys who are at the average to below average have a lot less options. But I enjoy that you said like these, the women who now, these guys who are at the bottom who would never have had access to these girls, especially like, you know, considering like the paid accounts like OnlyFans and things like this, where they're actually paying for interaction. They're paying for a response. They're paying for someone to talk to them. Now, we already know that may not necessarily be them, but they still get a response now from somebody who was unattainable. And this is making it so it is inflating the egos on both sides, where the people who would never have access or you wouldn't allow access to, well, now you have so much access to attention and validation and all of the pieces that created, like you said, I'm not disagreeing, that women are being trained and conditioned to be more dark triad traits. That's Machiavellianism, narcissism, and psychopathy. And you can even throw some sadism in there now. It's leaning that direction. So it may no longer be a dark triad. But like that system of all about me, I'll take whatever I can from you. I will just milk you for whatever it is. And then as soon as I have another option, I'm taking that too. Now, this system is happening, mostly only the top percent guys have those options. But women, that's a lot more women have those. The hypergamy system doesn't work the same for men. We don't have that thing. You did mention a video about the $1 million or the 100K. Which girl are you dating? And guys are like, we don't really fucking care. I don't care about your money.
Yes.
And so this makes it difficult. We don't have that system. And so when you're talking about that, you're right.
The big thing is girls that are young they have the ability to do literally anything. There was an athlete that I used to manage back in the day. And I was a nightclub promoter for a period of time, and I used to work with high level athletes, like the top level of top level. Right. And, you know, when we threw the after party for the championship win and stuff like that, we invited girls from all over the United States, and they flew down and they got to go talk to this athlete, this top dog, one of the industry giants, and no guy, no club owner, nobody could get up there. Not even the club owners could get up there. No matter how much money you made, if you're a billionaire, you couldn't get up. They don't want to talk to you. They want to talk to the young 18-year-old girl that looks good. And it was me, my other promoter, and probably 300 girls at this private event, right? And all the athletes and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, like, wow, it's amazing how a young, beautiful girl can carve through so many layers of society strictly by beauty. And that's the thing. Like, you talk to XYZ athlete, top level guy, your ego is going to be built, like no matter what. I mean, we very explicitly, we were getting hit up by girls literally just by throwing the party, and they wanted to be with us. just by that. And I'm like, this is insane. I've never received this much attention just by proxy of knowing somebody or being affiliated with them. And so it's no doubt in my mind. Like I understand it, why girls feel that way. When you're an 18-year-old girl, you can get flown on a yacht. Like I've been to Miami and stuff. Girls get their room and board paid for free by Fontainebleau and a lot of hotels just to have attractive girls in the building that are willing to, once they pay for the stuff, they just say, hey, look, you got to show up to the promo table. You got to do this, you got to do that. And they give them a little bit of task list, but that's what they want to do anyway. They want to go there. They want to show up to the promo table. Yeah, we're going to give you a bottle, drink the bottle, take some photos. Of course they want to do that. It is like, it's like you're hungry and it's like, yeah, I need you to eat this steak that's really well cooked, and, obviously, eat everything with it. You're like, yeah, for sure. I want to do that. So they literally get the red carpet rolled out to them when they're very young. And that warps the mind, because once you have I've driven some nice cars. Once you've driven that car, you look at everything else different. Once you've lived a certain lifestyle, you look at everything different. Once you've tried something to a high level and lived in a back-to-back for 3, 4, 5 years, you don't look at people the same. You don't look at opportunities the same. And so, it warps the mind of young girls. Any girl that's 18, 19 years old can go get flown out. As long as she's in relatively good shape, she can get flown out by the world's richest men, and they are very available to that to get sexual access from the woman. That's why you have 18-year-old girls in Miami that date 60-year-old guys. That is a real thing. And that's what permanently I don't want to say permanently, it really messes them up, because then they start getting older and it precipitously drops off. Their ego is so up, and I get it. Like, I don't blame them for it. But then it 25, 26, 27, it goes down to almost zero. They're not looking for these types of girls anymore. They're looking for the new, fresh, and these guys are just getting older and stuff like that. And then these girls get very upset. They start blaming men. Well, these men never settle down with me. And a lot of girls have the mindset of, I want to have fun in my 20s. And then when I'm getting 25, 26, then I want to settle down. Instead of, I'm at my highest negotiability right now with my sexual agency. Now is the time for me to lock down the quality husband that is not involved in, for me, just for lustful nature. You're going to have to weed out a lot of guys, but that's where the women win. That small sector of them that don't go for that hypergamous nature. And they go for a man that's more so acceptable, but they can still get those elite level guys because of they're able to negotiate at that level. But many girls while men have to face hypergamy, men have more longevity in their ability to negotiate. And so it works out in the long term for men, as long as they're willing to invest. And at 22 years old, even though I was a nightclub promoter, I could still never get these girls to settle down with me, date me, because there's 30-year-old guys that were just built out way more than me. 40-year-old guys are built out. Why do you like this guy, this 40-year-old guy that has nothing in common with you? He had power. He had a business. He had things going for him, and I could never compete. And that's something you have to learn when you're a young guy. Women, they always say this, women are born with value. Men have to create it. And so it is obvious and really understanding that women at a young age, especially in the Western country, if they have social media, they can have this unlimited access. I know girls in our city right now that are just regular girls getting DM'd by some of the biggest athletes out there, like the biggest players, the biggest celebrities. And they show me, they're like, wow, I got this. Oh, you're on social media? Look at who I got a DM from. And it's like, I can see their eyes light up. I can see them feel like they're special, because a woman often judges her value based off the type of guys that she can interact with. And so if this XYZ celebrity is interacting with her, she says, okay, I can attain him and every guy in his league. And let's
really challenge in on this real quick. All right. So girls are so excited because this guy who's an athlete or a rock star or movie star or on the radio or podcast or whatever, somebody who's a thing, they do a thing, right? And they're like, ooh, I'm, getting attention from money, power, fame, something in this area, right? All right. Or status, you call it whatever the thing is. With the burden of beauty and these kinds of things, isn't it going to be kind of tricky for these people to be able to really know? Because you said that their world is warped at this point. Now, if I've got attention from somebody and they're in this money, power, fame thing, what exactly is a high value man then? Is it just somebody who has more things than another? How do these girls know to measure value?
In a very capitalistic society that we have today, a lot of women want power. Power is the number one dynamic, I can say. And it can be stretched and kind of molded in different concepts, but power is the best term I'd use. In a capitalistic society today, money is a great indicator of power. So a high value man is a powerful man in a lot of aspects. Now, it can be a varying definition, right? A lot of women, a religious woman might say a high value man is someone that's very close with God and that lives with morals and integrity. A young girl that goes out to the clubs, high value man is a guy that gets a section every weekend and spends $10,000 and he drives a Ferrari and lives in a penthouse, because high value is more access to the lifestyle that she wants. That's just the simple way to put it, right? So a woman that's 35 years old that has 2 kids, a single mom, might consider a high value man as someone that's just a regular guy that works very hard, that is willing to be there for her kids and be at every soccer game and be involved. That's a high value man to her. So the definition is changing, and it's like success, right? People have different definitions of success. So high value for me, generally speaking, is a man that has discipline, that is on his code, that doesn't move his principles for people. And I want to say general rules are ethical. He doesn't lie. And he's really just structured in a lot of ways. Here's the flip, right? So a lot of podcasters, I'll say influencers, whoever you want to call them, they say a high value guy is just a guy that has money. And then they also consider these high value guys that have money, a lot of them cheat. And so I made a statement a long time ago of like, high value men don't cheat. There's men out there that are like athletes, celebrities. They don't cheat, but they have multiple women. And they have a very real conversation with the girls. Like, hey, look, I live this lifestyle. I'm going to talk to multiple women. You can choose to engage with me because I'm going to give you, we're going to go to the nicest restaurants. We're going to have the nicest things. You're going to be pretty much safe and secure. By proxy of being with me, you're going to live a very good life and have a very good, next 5-6 years of this engagement. But you can go date a guy that could never give you those things. What would you choose? And some girls will say, I will be with this celebrity and I will entertain you with multiple women. That's not cheating. It's not. They've negotiated for it. And those girls are happy as well. And they're very well aware. So I would consider that a high value guy. I don't think a guy is high value when he constantly lies and has to bend the truth and really has to just put up a front, because then it becomes you dodging and moving around different obstacles. So high value to me is disciplined, really, and just being ethical.
All right. So if that's a high value guy, what's a high value girl then?
So another same thing, it changes with definition. So a very religious guy, let's say an Islamic guy, will consider a high value girl as someone that covers up, that is full in full hijab, that cooks and cleans. A high value woman, maybe in the States, for someone that's more so modern, is someone that's working. She makes a lot of money. She has her own little apartment and her little cute car, and she's doing her own things, right? But generally speaking, I would say morality and integrity are very important for women, more so than men. And I think a woman really has to bring peace. I think a high value woman brings peace. And I think obviously the number one thing I would say for high value women is looks. 50-60% of the selection factor for men is attraction, sexuality. So a high value woman by default is a woman that's very attractive, right? And in addition to that, she knows how to be humble and peaceful with that dagger of attraction. And she's also very moral, ethical. And one thing I'll say is that she's very loyal to the people that she's enlisted with. And I think that there's a great correlation with promiscuity. I don't think any agency of man out there endorses promiscuity. So I think there's a general correlation with having lower levels of promiscuity or sleeping with less people is considered higher value.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Warrior, thank you so much for being a part of the information that we have. And you're part of our story as we are a part of yours. It's very much an honor to be able to connect with each other. If you want to know more or you want to get started with working with me or working with our warriors so that you can begin your path to authenticity, strength, leadership, and accountability, this is the way. Together, we are way stronger. Now you get to choose. Do you go forward or keep doing what you've always done? If you stay where you're at, hey, click on some of the stuff and follow what it is. We got motivational stuff. We've got podcasts. We've got more things. Just subscribe and do the stuff and we'll keep you updated. But if you want to start going in, start jumping into what our programs offer and start your journey and being the hero in your own story. All right. So if the promiscuity part is like if the girl is sleeping with a lot of guys, like she's out hot girl summer, and the high value guy, the power guy, the success guy is like, oh, I'll be sleeping with all these people and you can go ahead and be involved in this regardless of sexual danger, regardless of STDs, regardless, you get the best food, or we get to go on a vacation. She's like, whatever, you can sleep with as many people as you want because you're being honest about it. But then we later on value, like, hey, you haven't had a lot of partners, but you've been with people who have been with thousands of people. And like these like high value guys are then with the girls with the looks. And so like if most of everything on here, like, you said it is cultural, but this like morals and integrity and bringing peace and having humility and being ethical and loyal and don't have a lot of promiscuity, but make sure that you're banging hot.
One thing, let me jump in here. The guy, you don't need to be banging a lot of girls to be high value. You can have one woman for the rest of your life and that's it.
Right.
What I wanted to clarify was the high value guys that sleep with a lot of girls, if they're sleeping with a lot of girls and they're being honest about it, that's high value to me. But there are guys, like even if you slept with 3 girls and cheated on one, I don't think that's good. High value just means that you do what you're going to say and you're disciplined to it. So I think that monogamy is very advantageous in today's social society. And I recommend a lot of guys to just stick with one good woman instead of trying to play the game where you're hooking up with 10, 15. That type of luxury only comes when you're really at the elite levels of life and you have so much of a brand where you can afford to just not put so much attention and resources to entertain these women, where 5 minutes of your time is more valuable than someone's whole day. You get what I'm saying? Because women really will, in a lot of senses, they will take up your time. Many women are distracting. And so those guys that really like entertain those 10, 20 girls, like they really have to be built out and done. Most guys, though, the most high value men should just be with one woman. It's the best thing for you. But go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good. I want clarity. So like, because I'm trying to make sure like the idea, because like we're talking about, and this is maybe just also your social circles, we're talking about the elites. Like, and this is by no means, I don't think any of these, the conversation we've had so far seems like an average. This seems like only in the elite sphere, which, testament to you, like I'm in the elite sphere. That's my regular. And if this is your regular, it's not the regular. Like this is like you're talking, this entire conversation so far has seemed like it's in like the top 10 percentile. Like that seems like this is your regular zone. This is where I hang out. But there's still the 90 percentile that we're like, well, what about those guys? Like, because they don't get the access that like a LeBron has. They don't get this kind of stuff. They don't get the elite access. They're not getting flown all over because they're pretty. But there's also the burden of beauty, burden of performance thing where we are talking about the top 5% of the world here. And even still being realistic, world wealth, I think it's if you're making 80K plus, you're still in the top 5% of the world. Most of the world is not living to that standard. And so like if you're making
$32,000 in the US market, you're at top 1%.
For US market?
Like that. Yeah. If you're making,
I thought 32K is USD. Average right now.
No. Sorry. Globally. If you're making 32,000 USD globally, let me rephrase. Globally, you're in the top 1%. Now, if you're making, I think it's like 500,000 now USD, then you're in the top 1% US market. Sorry.
Yes.
So 32,000 in the United States, you're living very good compared to the world.
Correct. And so this is where it gets really difficult is when we're talking in these numbers where the girls are like, he needs to make 39 or 39% or 32% more than me, period.
36% more.
All right. 36% more. He's got to make at least 150K to $500,000 to $1 million or whatever, which is now we're in the 1 percentile for even the highest markets. Like this makes it so, and then let's throw in, he's got to be 6 feet and 6 pack and all that stuff too. He's got to be the athlete guy or whatever. It seems like these high valued girls, these hot girls are going to go through and just these guys, like you said, have like just unlimited options with no reason they should ever settle down. It's like getting free samples at Costco and you never have to pay for anything. And somehow this is like a very normal thing. It's like, if we're going at that level, again, it's one of those things where that's a burden of performance that has a payout. If you're in the top percentage, there's a payout to it. There's options that open up to you. But for the ladies, there are options where you said, women are born with value and men have to create it. You're like, well, if they're born with value, what lowers their value? And do you think going through and just letting all these guys run through you when you were hot, and then now that my value is depreciating, now I want to find somebody who will pay a premium for it? is that something that makes sense? Where like, I'm going to go sleep with all these high value guys, but they won't keep me. And then when I've done having my fun being young in my 20s or whatever, and now it's time to settle down, you're like, well, like you said, when you were driving that car, like if you're driving even a nice car, you're like, it's kind of losing some of the edge to it because I'm used to something a little different than this. Like, help me out with understanding how the system is not meant to implode on itself.
It does implode on itself a lot of times, which is why we have a failing rate. Like, this is why it's failing. I think that there needs to be education on dating and relationships because in theory, a lot of people can be happy. There are always going to be losers in the world. There's always going to be winners and losers. And that's just the game of life. It is what it is. Not everybody is really going to be happy, but I think the majority of people can be happy. But what I'm describing to you is really like the 1% of 1% being happy. And that's unfortunate. But realistically, I think that a lot of guys can hit the 1% as long as they put in time, as long as they learn how to save. I think that guys in their 20s and they're 25, like, you know, even I'm I'm 29 years old. I'm very young. A lot of guys, we're not supposed to have it completely fleshed out and figured out, right? But if we keep growing in a certain industry and do things the right way, if you do anything for 10, 20 years straight, you're going to get to large levels of income, whether you're a plumber, whether you're a carpenter, whether you're in the finance industry, it doesn't matter as long as you're moving forward. And so at some point, you're going to hit that 1% bracket and have access to those girls that are in the 1% type nature, right? Now, for women, it's really, women have a lot more pressure because at an early age, they have to select properly. And when women are very young, they're very attracted to dominant, aggressive, bad boy, making money, power levels traits. They're not interested in the mindset of settling down. And so women have really been warped by feminism in a sense like, oh, you don't have to settle down at 20. Like back in the day, 20, 30 years ago, I wouldn't even say back in the day, it's not that long ago, women settled down and had kids at 21 years old, at 19 years old. And that's what it was. Now the average age, there are more women over the age of 30, 50.4% of the women that over 30 that don't have kids now than women that do. And so now we're pushing the hey, you can have kids later because it's fine and 30s are the new 20. No, 30s are not the new 20s. 30s are 30s. Yeah. And even though women get sexual attention when they're 30, they don't get the marriage and the long-term commitment. They may get sexual attention from men that are in their 40s, but these men are like, okay, there's a reason you didn't get married in your 20s. You're 35 years old right now and you're single. I'm going to probably lock down a girl that's younger, or I'm divorced and I don't want to get married anymore. And women just really have to focus on settling down at a very prime level. And it's like, it has a lot to do with age and sexuality. Like there are girls that are 31 years old that outclass some 22 years old, you know, and that is a benefit that they have and they can still negotiate for that thing. I'm not saying that it's just based off the age bracket. And there are some girls that are, you know, like 26 years old that can outperform or that are not even at the level of a 35-year-old. They're just not taking care of themselves, so on and so forth. But when women can negotiate the right way with their sexual agency, their personality, not only can they get a high quality guy, but even if they get a regular guy, they can really help him grow. I had a lot of women in my life that helped me grow as a person. And for some reason or another, we just didn't find each other compatible, but it was never a bad, worse breakup. But for the women that really were there for me, they really empowered me. They helped me out. They built with me, so on and so forth. And so if a woman finds the right guy, even if he's not making the amount of money or income or doesn't have the level of power at a young age, if she builds with him, they're going to get there. He's going to be top 1% power level, income wise, whatever you want to call it. And she's going to be locked in with him. It is what it is because she has tenure with him.
I like the tenure idea, but we're at a weird spot now because we see a lot of the comparison for value comes from power or money or fame or whatever it may be. And a lot of her value comes from beauty. And, you know, a lot of this gets really tricky because if a woman dates a man because of his providing and how much he can give you, she's going to be looking for how much can I get? And if a guy, like you said, is dating a woman for beauty, he's going to be attracted to where's the next level of beauty. And so it almost came into a trick question of like, well, when should somebody feel like they're settling? If there's always another option.
It is.
Yeah.
Every relationship is transactional. Now, let me add the confounding variables for men. It's not only just power, but generosity and how much he cares and how much he loves, like him being a good father. Now, for women on the flip side, here's a compounding variable. It's how much of a good mother she can be, how much peace she can provide, because there's a lot of beautiful women that have ugly personalities. And there's a lot of powerful men out there that make a lot of money that are just very abusive and very dark. So these more so are general prerequisites that you should look for in a relationship. Like if I had a daughter, an 18-year-old daughter right now, I would want her husband or her boyfriend or whoever she's talking to be able to be financially stable to provide for her. That's the prerequisite. But if he's hitting her and he's abusive and he's a cheater and he's a manipulator, it's obviously a cutthroat no.
What about if your 18-year-old daughter is about to get flown out on a yacht to a guy who's, 37 and has a ton of money, and she's going to be one of the hot girls on the yacht? Are you pumped for your daughter because she gets to have some yacht experience?
Because I know where that goes, and I know the lifestyle of it. And of course, I mean, listen, let me break this down very structurally. I would be like, first and foremost, I would be impressed by her ability to go get that. That's like, I honestly would. But the 99% of it would be like, nah, this is not a good idea. Now, if it was a 26-year-old guy that flew her out to her city and he tried to talk to her and so on and so forth, then maybe it makes sense. But also, you've got to be very careful, with investing your time. First and foremost, a woman flying out and doing this, that, and the third, I would want her to get her own hotel room. But I would encourage a young daughter of mine to date and to look for high quality guys for the purpose of settling down and having a relationship.
Around her age.
I'd be much happy. You said what?
You said around her age. Is that would make it more appropriate?
I would say it varies. Okay. So if you're an 18-year-old girl, you're going to have men that are under the age of 25, generally speaking, don't have a lot of stuff fleshed out in their life. It's just hard,
Well, they're in college.
It just takes time.
They haven't built anything yet. They're still learning. Right.
So I would say some certain rules. Like I would try to make sure that he's over 25. Let's say my daughter is 24. If she's dating a guy that's 26, 27, I think it's appropriate. I would typically say about 3 to 6 years of age. Now, as you get older, it can increase. So if you're 38, you can go for a guy that's 48, right? It's fine. It's not a big deal because you really become to neutralize out and become just adults. But when you're younger, it's very much every year makes a massive difference. An 18-year-old is worlds apart from a 17-year-old. A 17-year-old is worlds apart from a 16-year-old. And a 19-year-old is worlds apart from a 20-year-old. But a 40-year-old is not that much different than a 41-year-old. It becomes more stabilized. So at a later age, you can date a lot larger with brackets, but being 18 and dating a guy that's, 29 is going to be very, very different. But at the same time, this is where you can learn and make mistakes and kind of really engage in things. And so 25 and up, is like a general rule, I would say. And for guys, I would say go for girls that are probably the general, from all the data from anonymous dating apps, they did a research on this. And if you compile all the data, women typically want men that age with them. So the most desirable ages, if you look at this on the data, 21 goes for 23 for women. 22-year-old women go for 24. 23-year-old women go for 25. 24 goes for 26. 25 goes for 26. 26 goes for 28. And I know the data like the back of my hand. It goes up by about 2-3 year increments up until the age of 40. Then it becomes a diminishing return. 40-year-old women want 40-year-old men. 41-year-old women want 40-year-old men. 42-year-old women want 41-year-old men. And it becomes kind of inverse in the reverse scale, where 51-year-old women want men that are 2 to 3 years younger than them. So about 40 is where you see that switch. Men across the board go for 21 to 23, and they also stretch the age bracket out because of pragmatic reasons. So when you look at men on their dating app selection, a 30-year-old guy will go 18 to 27 or 28 or 30. Women don't do that. A 30-year-old woman will go 27 to 34, something like that. You get what I'm saying? It's completely different. Men go from the lowest to 22 to the age that they're at. That's what they do. And this is data that's been served on anonymous dating apps and the back end data of what men put their profiles at. So it's very accurate on that sense. The most attractive age for women is 21 to 23. That's the most attractive age based off, it's like 50 million, data sets here.
Yeah. Ladies don't like that answer, by the way. So
they don't.
I do want to also go back really quickly to, you said something too, because I like this data thing and I do want to tap into that in a second. But you said that if your 18-year-old daughter was able to get onto a 37-year-old guy's yacht, you'd be really impressed by her. What did she do to be so impressive?
I wouldn't be so impressed in the sense of I would be impressed by her ability to get there, right? Because
number one, what do you think she's offering at that point? I'm just curious.
Number one, it's the sexual agency, right? And I had this conversation a long time ago with a friend of mine. It's like one of my buddies was like, I wish I had an ugly daughter because I know how all these attractive girls live their lifestyle. And then we sat there and we're like, no, we actually don't want an ugly daughter because she would be depressed. Like, you know, a lot of the women that I meet that are very, very like struggling and they're not happy and they're very depressed in their life, it's because they're not getting attention from men. And that's what girls really judge themselves off of. When girls gather over for sleepover, they're on their phones like, oh my God, look what he DM'd me. Oh my God, look at this guy. Remember him from the thing? Oh my God, now what are your stories? And they have nothing to share. And it's like, oh, this guy keeps liking my photo. It's almost like bragging. So I'm always going to want
like
my
the complaining
daughter to be
is the bragging. That's what you're saying. They complain
Yes,
to brag like, oh my God, I get so much attention. It's so annoying.
Exactly. I've literally been ignoring him for he just won't stop. I don't know what to do. He's such a creep. Like, it's a flex for them. I would be impressed with her ability to get that attention. That's the first thing. I would always want my daughter to look good and to be valuable in that aspect. It's the same thing for a kid. Like for a guy, if I had an 18-year-old son, I would want him to be, I guess at his age, not necessarily financially stable, but I would want him to have that ability to earn that power. If I have a 28-year-old son that's powerful, that is a CEO, that's doing well for himself, I would be impressed. That also means he's getting a lot of attention from 18, 19-year-old girls. The obtuse level of the gender, like where it's so far off, right? So if I had a son and I was 60 years old and my son was 35 and 18-year-old girls were hitting him up, I would be like, hey, that's impressive that you're getting those girls to hit you up. Like, it's impressive because they like you for some reason. It's also impressive for an 18-year-old girl to get attention from that kind of stuff. It's less impressive though, because really any 18-year-old girl can get attention from a 37-year-old guy. But the fact that someone's willing to fly you out and do this, it's something of value there, even if it's sexual. But then the 99% of that is also like, don't do this. It's not good. I know where this is going to go. I've been there. I wouldn't endorse it whatsoever.
Yeah, well, it almost sounds kind of like it's like the system makes sense to you for some reason. Not necessarily that it needs to be improved, but more understanding and accepting of like, this is the game, guys. Am I kind of reading it wrong?
It is the game. If women more so, I don't want to say settled, but got more realistic about what they can negotiate for, especially at an early age, I think they could really find a lot of great guys to team up with and partner with. It's about partnership. And this is where we get back to like where it really makes sense. People, it's not about negotiating for the highest partner that earns the most money or the woman that's the hottest. It's about negotiating for the highest level of compatibility. Who will actually be loyal to you? Who will be kind to you? Who will be generous with you? And who will be really respectful to you, presentable to you. It's all these things. It goes both ways. So men, it's not about dating the most attractive girl. In fact, I tell a lot of guys, don't date the most attractive girl. You're going to have problems with ego and narcissism. And just, there's always guys that are taller, better, stronger, faster, just better than you. You're going to lose in a lot of circumstances when you're dating very attractive women. It just is what it is. Date a girl that's, I hate to say it, like, I don't want to give the scaling, the 1 to 10 scale, but date a girl that's attractive, that's presentable, but also is humbled by other women that are just putting pressure in the room, because then she's going to appreciate you a lot more. And on the flip side, it's like, for women, don't go for the most powerful guy. He's going to replace you. A lot of female influencers and podcasters say, date the guy that's built out. It's the dumbest thing you can do, because the moment that you get him and you negotiate for that, he will replace you. Find someone that's building and growing and that really has value at the moment that they're at, and then really build that tenure and compatibility with them. The organic chemistry of the relationship is what's going to actually keep you together. Even though you may see a more beautiful, better, in on paper, more qualified partner for you, you and XYZ girl, Sarah here, have had 10 years together, and you're not going to mess that up because you have kids with her, you love her, and so on and so forth. And on the flip side, there's a taller guy, better guy, making more money at a party, but you and XYZ guy, Jason, you have a family together, and he's, he knows your entire family. He loves your mother. He, was there for your brother's graduation, like all the above. You're not going to mess that up.
Mm-hmm. I think it would make more sense for that, for the generalized people, because most people aren't going to be talking about like this built out guy. Like, and I think it's interesting that you said, like, if you're going for these, like the 10s and the girl side and there's guys who are in the single digit percentages, like odds are he's probably going to cheat on you. Like, he's built out. Yeah. If you're dating him because he's built out, that means you're in a transaction relationship. It's not a compatibility thing. It's you give me provision. You give me lifestyle. You give me these things. Well, then he's with you for another transaction, which is most likely your body. You love him for his money and his generosity with his money, and he loves you for your body and your generosity with your body. It does seem like this is something where the guys will at first struggle until they make it in that area. And then they have all of these options, and the girls will have it in that area and then later struggle with options. It's going to
That's what natural selection is. Yep.
And so,
yes. And there's a sweet spot.
The sweet spot seems like this weird thing that then if they live, let's say they do it right in the sweet spot and get to have the highest level of these like areas. Well, then you just said too, well, then it just warps the world, because now I've had like the 0.01 percentile lifestyle for the sweet spot. And then afterwards, I want to settle down with a good, humble man, a guy who's a good father with good values and good principles. And he's a protector, provider, presider. He's a good guy. You know, he's not going to be an upper echelon, you know, bazillionaire, but he's a good dude. He makes like 90K. He's loyal as hell. He's a good guy. He's a really good guy. And these are the ones, even hell, let's give him 50K. I don't give a shit. Like, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's a good dude, though. It's a good dude, and he'll respect you and honor you and love you forever. But here you are now. I've gotten to be on yachts and fucked by NBA players and all this shit. And you're like, well, what is she always going to be doing in her head when she has something that would actually be really, really stable and good, but in the back of her mind having that, like, I've gotten to reach Olympus and then I lost it because I'm not beautiful anymore or whatever.
Let's say this. Okay. So this is really good that you brought this up, and I'll answer it as best as I can. So this girl, 18, 19, partied, whatever it is. And then if she doesn't negotiate in the right spot for what she wanted, it does become an echoing thought in her head. It really does. And I will tell you right now, there's many girls that are 40 years old that are with a guy. If I could snap my fingers and make you 21 again, they would divorce their husbands. They'd be like, well, I'm hot now and I'm young and I want to party and I want to be at this bottle service. Like, a lot of girls would do that. This is the truth. And yeah, a lot of girls will hate me saying this, but the ones that don't complain are the ones that are getting. No girl complains for a door open for her. No girl complains for the dinner that's paid for her. No girl, I've never seen girls in bottle service like, oh my God, like, it's just so unfair that I'm here. And when I was at this party for this player, right? This athlete, and I throw a lot of celebrities and athletes parties, and I throw championship parties too. I would see the craziest stab in the back friendship moves. Girls would come. I remember we had this party that we threw, and we made a guest list for it. We ranked the girls by ourselves, like just as best as we could. Okay, look, we're going to rank them. And we had a private guest list, which is like 100% yes. And then we had, girls that we invited that we could probably get in. And we over invited girls because that's just what it was. And then the girls that came invited their friends. So we were over the over. And at the moment that we were going to do this, the group of people that we're throwing the party for, they said, fuck the guest list, fuck the guest list. And they took their phones out and they went like this. They were just looking at the girls. You good. Nah. Nope. Like, and it like, okay, we threw the guest list out, all that we worked on. And I would see girls saying, I'm just going to see how it is, and I'll be right out. I'm going to get you in. Don't worry. Never cared. Leave their friends, and their friends waited. I'm serious. Like, this was crazy to see. And so you see, like, those girls don't complain. They don't complain. And whenever you're in a position of winning, like, and you're eating the royalty and you're having fun and all that, I don't see girls complain. It's only the ones that are outside. Like, it's just so unfair that she's able to go in and do this and that. And like, then they hate the idea of hypergamy and everything like that because they're just on the opposite side of it. And I know a lot of guys complain too. Why is she with this guy that has this Ferrari or Lambo? And it's not, I hate to be so vulgar about it with the Ferrari and Lambo, but I'm just throwing in a very over exaggerated example of it. It doesn't necessarily need to be that. It could be a guy that's driving a nice car that's in a suit that's just more built out, and he's masculine and he's wearing some nice cologne that the other kid can't afford. Why is she with him? It's just the way the game works. Now, if a girl is able to negotiate at the right point of her life for the right guy, and the guy is able to negotiate for the right girl, then it becomes really realistic. And then they transition, because once you start the values of family, and this is what our country has really lost and society's really lost, family, the values of family, then it doesn't become about how good looking is my husband or how hot my wife is all the time. It's about how good of a mother she is and how good of a husband he can be for my children and for the family, how good of a father he can be. Because a lot of your happiness is drawn from the rearing of your children. So the number one thing I think men need to focus on is their value of purpose and legacy. And for me, this is why I choose monogamy all day. This is why I don't need to have the hottest woman, because I want a legacy. I want children that are healthy and happy and loved. And that's the most important thing to me in my life. And in order for me to get that, I need to have a very good woman. And I don't want to have to duck my head at a movie theater. I don't have to duck my head at a restaurant because I cheated on my wife. And that makes me look bad, because when you work with children, you'll realize that they hate infidelity. Children resent infidelity. It doesn't matter. They don't understand it. They resent it. They hate it. They just say, mommy cheated on daddy and daddy cheated on mommy. I hate you. I hate you, daddy. You ruined our family. That's how it becomes. And it becomes a traumatic thing. And I work with a lot of people in these scenarios that they understand why their dad cheated. They understand why their mom cheated. They still will never accept it. And it's very crazy to see. Now, it changes. You go into more of, I want a family. And when that family dynamic is built out, your principles of you don't care about the yachts, you don't care about the cars, you care about your kids having success. And so it becomes very different. Like, I know I was just in Naples last week, and when you talk to people there, they have the Rolls Royces, they have the Ferraris, they have the $40 million houses, but the happiest thing that they have is their children. And the things that they brag about is like, oh, my daughter's an interior designer. She designed the whole thing. I don't know. She just does it. She just designed the whole thing. That's the flex. That's her flex. That's her biggest. Oh, my son is a lawyer. He's New York. I'll call him. He's in lawsuits and I don't know what he does. He's crazy, like that's their flex. He's calling me right now. It's just, what's he want? Like that's their happiest moments are their children. And so it transitions, because I think if you're 60 years old and you have a new Gucci bag in your closet or a new Ferrari in your driveway, it doesn't make you happier as much as having a room full of people that you can look out to and say, hey, look, I was part of this. I created this whole family here. It came from me. And that's a very powerful thing.
You were talking about a few different things here I do want to stay on, because there's a few really cool topics here that I think people would want some clarity on. First, let's just jump into the obvious. This is like the acceptance of the game. This is one thing I'm not disagreeing with you on, is like, well, this is there and these patterns exist. And I haven't heard anything yet where I'm like, that doesn't happen, dude. I'm like, no, these all seem like the patterns. They seem pretty loud too. I do want to, in a little bit, go into the difference between girls and women, boys and men, single versus, spouses or parents. I think there's an evolution that we can at least give some hope in this game. But most people would say, I hate the game. I hate the game. Now, I heard a quote where it says the people with the lower sexual value are the ones who hate the game. Now, you said money, power, fame.
It's true.
That's for the guys. If you're doing successful things, you like the game. I got options. If you're a hot girl, you like the game. You got options. But all those people who fall in that 90 percentile who are like still able to have some options to like not as many options and got to struggle to like, I got no options. Fuck this game. Like, this game's stupid. And so they don't like the game.
The game is I think that if you accept the reality of it, it doesn't become so unenjoyable. And I think that a lot of guys have to really embrace the idea that, look, like, we're prehistoric creatures in medieval infrastructure with futuristic technology. And so it's really bound to fail. Like, this is the thing. We have advanced so much in the last 30 years in technology. It is insane, because for over 60 to 80 years of human civilization, when you're talking like 1800s and 1970s and 80s, we really didn't have these issues. Like, there was no relationship podcasts or things like, hey, this is the problem today. It really was very normal. And even like, I'm talking about these extreme percentiles here, but the majority of people do get married to people that are 2 to 3 years around their age. They make a little bit more money, and people are still finding compatible matches in today's society. It's just becoming worse and worse. The game is something that I think you just have to understand. I think that Albert Einstein said it the best. The organism that is like the most intelligent is the one that's the most adaptable. So if you're able to adapt to what society is changing into with social media, then you're going to win. And social media flipped our society upside down. It's where we get our news from. It's where we keep up with friends and family. It's where we literally get all of our information from. And it's really split the divide. The game is the idea that like not everybody wins. As long as you accept, like, as a man, you're going to have to work. Human beings were meant to be in uncomfortable environments where we really perform our best when we're in a period of like slight stress. When we're self-inflicting adversity and not self-harm, that's when men really do their best. Like, when men are constantly put under pressure and they're doing like they're in a state of stress. So I think like the mentality a man has to have is, it's going to sound really messed up. I don't think that I try to be happy on a day-to-day basis. I don't wake up and like, I'm going to try to be happy. I try to just do what I have to do and add a discipline. And then the joy comes from, there's a constant drip of joy that comes from all the accomplishments I've made and the delayed gratification rewards that I have. So as long as men are embracing the idea of suffering and working out and being difficult with themselves, they're going to really win at the game. And the game becomes something that you don't really pay attention to. And as long, women have to be a little bit more self-conscious about it, because the game is very rigged for women. And some women win it out of the park. Like, you know, this is historical too. Like this, I guess the beautiful woman in town gets anything she wants. The heiress, the duchess, she gets all the attention. The models, you know, back in the day, they won everything. And that is the nature of women: jealousy, envy, frustration. A woman that is on the other side of the game, where she doesn't have as much sexual value, can always win by, you know, I'll put it like this. I've dated girls that are very attractive, but there's also girls I've dated that weren't like girls let's say I talked to that weren't so attractive, but they were such good people. They were so kind. They were so loving. They were so generous. They went up 3-4 points in my scale, like literally right off rip. And they were, you know, I'd rather take a girl that's not as presentable, that is loyal, that is kind, that is just a good person, rather than one that knocks it out of the park. And the boys will always, like the kids will always go for the hot girl. Like when guys are young, the valuation really comes down to sexuality. Same thing with women. It's physical. The 18-year-old girl is going to want the college quarterback and not Jeff Bezos. But the 35-year-old woman is going to choose Jeff Bezos all day than the college quarterback. She's not going to care for the college quarterback. So sexuality is a big driving factor when you're young, even for men and women. But the game is very, women have to be more calculated with it. And they have to be very, very, like, if they're in a position where they're winning, they have to capitalize and lock down. Like it really is securing with women. But with men, I think a lot of guys can really win. I really do. I have a lot of hope for men. Even though it's hard in the beginning, when you're 25, you can just work really hard for the next 10 years, be 35 years old, and have access to all the women that you want. You can really do that. Does that make sense?
I'm hearing where you're going with it. There's a lot of pieces here. Again, like it's a lot to unwrap with each time you do a monologue. Is like there's 6 topics. And so I'm like, yeah, it's a lot of pieces here, whether we go to the trillions of percentages that technology has gone up, all the way to what is happiness and joy, to visiting discomfort and the discipline aspect of being able to take care of yourself to a point. And then the game is rigged for women, but you know, they have to lock down their security early. There's a lot of things that you jump in and you hit a lot of pieces very quickly. So I just want to try to like, where do we grab out of these, you know? And then I still have 3 of the ones from the last one that I want to hit. So I just want to make sure we're grabbing some of the cool ones here. So I'm with you. I'd say there's something I watched one of your videos. I'm going to jump in on this one with the acceptance of the game, is that the game isn't fair. And it's not supposed to be fair, but that doesn't mean you have to be on the receiving end of unfair. You can be on the gaining end of unfair. And so I want you to kind of go into that for a second to give some positive spin to some of these facts, because like, right now, I'd say a majority of people are listening going, well, I suck at basketball. I suck at football. I'm not a bajillionaire. I'm not good at marketing. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Like, let's give them some hope here.
Yeah. So when I was in the clubs and a promoter, I was not a celebrity. I was not an athlete. And I would look at these athletes and these celebrities and be like, yo, I can't act like him. I don't look like him. I don't have the traits like him. I'm not built like that physically. But then I remember I remember it like yesterday. I remember seeing the people next to them, and they were just, I don't want to say they're unattractive. They were older guys that were just spending the same amount of money. I'm like, what do these guys do? And I went into that's why I do finance now. Like, it's a very lucrative career. Financial services makes more millionaires and billionaires than any other career. And that's why I jumped into finance. And you're able to make athlete level, celebrity level money and still engage in that same lifestyle without actually a lot of the drama, which is a very, very good thing. If you're a guy and you're 21 years old or 22 years old or at really any age, put 10 years into one industry and just carve it out and work, you're going to make money. And you're going to have, and obviously just put 10 years into building yourself up physically. It's obviously all aspects. If you're a guy that has a lot of money, but you're not built out physically, you're still not going to get really a good rep with women, because the women that are going to be engaging with you are transactional. They're going to be very transactional. Having that Lambo and having that like nice house or whatever it is, it'll get you like a minute of conversation, maybe even 20 or 30 seconds. That's it. And that's it. But if your personality's not there, if you don't know how to talk to women, if you just haven't had those examples and you don't look physically appealing, you're just going to get a woman that's going to engage with you transactionally. So as long as you're putting in 5-10 years into the gym, into learning how to conversate, into reading, and into just building a business and growing in as a part of a business, you're really going to win. Like, you're going to win. It's just not right now. It's later. There are some kids that are 21 years old that are making millions of dollars. That's rare. It's very, very rare. And it's probably from some, I know some crypto guys that are 21 years old and they're driving Lambos and they're doing good. That's very rare. I mean, it's a lot of luck too. I'm being real. And I'm not trying to take credit away from them. It's just not common, but you don't have to compare yourself to that. That's the one thing. Now,
well, I think
girls,
people pretend to be that too, though, and that makes it confusing. I talk to a lot of young guys who think that that's what they're supposed to be doing. I also work with those guys, the millionaire guys who are in their early 20s, who did just kind of get lucky. And the reality is yeah, you got some money, but you don't know a fucking thing. They don't know shit about shit. They're like, I never really read any books, and I don't really know myself, and I have no idea about shit, and I don't know what a relationship is, and I have no idea anything, and I've never done anything. I just got lucky with this money thing, and I don't know what the fuck to do with it.
It's the lottery example. There's I don't know the exact stat, but a lot of lottery winners go bankrupt. I don't know if you know this, right? So almost they win the lottery and they go bankrupt because and then a lot of them do actually commit suicide as well. And it's because they haven't really been trained. They don't deserve that money. Mm-hmm. And they haven't really molded the mindset to handle that amount of income, that amount of freedom, that amount of luxury, that amount of power. And so when you give someone something that they're not ready for, when you give a unexperienced driver a car that's too fast for him to drive, I always use these car examples, they are going to crash it. They're not going to be able to control it, right? It's just not what it is. So unfortunately, I know a lot of those guys, fun thing too, is not fun, I guess. I know a lot of those guys that made a lot of money off Bitcoin and crypto and whatever, and then they blew it and they don't have any money left. And it's really, really unfortunate. And now they're depressed because they have this level of lifestyle and they have this vision of what they thought was success, and they're not at that level yet. And I mean, a lot of athletes are like this too. 60% of athletes have financial difficulty after their end of their career. 20% of them file for bankruptcy. It's very, very bad. They get injured, they're out, whatever, and they're in a position where they don't have money anymore because they think that they're going to just get paid. That's the male side of things, though. If guys just work and put their heads down for 5 to 10 years, it doesn't even have to be 30 years. It's 5 to 10 years in today's market. You can win. Everything you need is on YouTube. You can learn a ton of different skills. You can go to YouTube University. You can honestly buy a course or anything like that and learn how to scale an industry a lot faster. I'm a big fan of courses. I know some people aren't. I don't have a course, so I'm not saying this because I have one. I really don't have one at all. But they can really get you a lot farther ahead in life. And women, for women, it's a lot more difficult, and you have to be a little bit more, you got to keep your head above the water. I think that here's the advantage. You are going to be desired by a man if you're just taking care of your health. And here's the hope for one. You can look amazing as a woman because we have lip filler, we have Botox, we have breast implants, we have BBLs, we have, liposuction, we have tummy tucks, we have every single thing, every single beauty feature, makeup to a girl. I know some girls that didn't look the way they're supposed to look in high school, and they look amazing now. They just did some work on themselves and they look good. Here, I'm not proposing just go get plastic surgery, but there are things that you can do as a woman. You can get your teeth fixed. You can get your skin taken care of. You can get your hair done. You can get anything. Women can really up themselves up physically. And there's always men that are going to want attractive women. There's always men. Men work. If men could hook up with women in a cardboard box, they would. But they know that women like nice cars and a comfortable lifestyle and security. And so at 18 to really 25 years old, you have the market's grasp on who you want. You just have to pick very carefully and coach your personality to be the right person. And a lot of guys will settle down with the right girl. And it's very easy. The formula is simple. Just do the opposite of what every girl is doing. Don't be promiscuous. Don't be aggressive. Be peaceful. Be nice. Help the guy. Proactively try to make his day better. And just look presentable. You're going to win. It's very, very easy. But it's hard also because you get swept in by groupthink, by you should be doing this and that. So, but here's a sad part. If you're a woman and you have a couple kids with a guy that doesn't really take care of them and doesn't care about you, and you're older and you're not at that level, it is hard. It is hard. But those are the decisions that you made in your life. Here's something I'll get into, another tangent, right? And I apologize for throwing so many tangents.
No, you're good. Have fun. You're good.
A lot of women don't understand that the biological weight of sex is such a heavy thing. Because we have contraception, women sex was meant, like, women secrete oxytocin during sex. Now, oxytocin is secreted at multiple times in life. You secrete oxytocin when you cry. There's different things. But when you have sex, you become very attached. And so the situationships, the friends with benefits, it never works for women a lot of times because women become very attached. And women also secrete oxytocin during childbirth, during breastfeeding, and that's what creates that maternal bond. But backtracking to sex, when you have sex with a man, you're naturally going to be attached to him because your body is saying, oh my God, we're going to have a kid with this guy. We need to love him because we're going to have a baby with him. It doesn't understand condoms and 41 different types of IUDs and this medication and birth control. It doesn't understand that. So when you are a woman, you have to be very cautious with who you get involved with. And as long as you have that mindset that you're very cautious and you keep a clean reputation and you really select for the right guy, you're going to win a lot. But when you do this with the wrong guys, and when you select and just go about it freely and you a lot of times have an accident and that ends up being a baby, you lose because you didn't create the foundation of what you wanted. I think that women should be a lot more selective with the guys that they engage with. And I think that the rate of sex is very high. Like, there's more sex happening now than ever. And you can also look at this from the rate of STDs. And it's because women are having more sex. It's always men wanting to have sex. Men back in the 1950s and to now always want sex. But now with contraception, it has opened a plethora of sexual experiences where I can go to the bar right now and pick up a girl. That never existed back in the day. Like, even 20 years ago, it was like, oh, she did that? What? Like, now it's normal. And it's actually promoted. And there's everything in hip hop and genres where you promote it. And so this is where women are making bad decisions in their lifestyle. And now they have to suffer the consequences because these men just don't want to be there. And it's also destroying the family structure. And it's a very dangerous thing that's really in society today where it's men winning. The reason that there's more STDs and more sex is because women are allowing it to happen. So,
well, I think
you can win as a woman.
I think you're right
early.
on the window. The window thing seems right. This is a really interesting time in humanity at the moment. If you look at these pieces together and even go into like the Universe 25 thing and stuff like this, we start getting into like what happens when things are going well. What does procreation look like? What does society do? Like, how does things work? And you start looking at the stuff where you said right now the game is rigged for women. It's rigged for the young girls. They get to just play their game, right? But then you start talking about all these things, the oxytocin, the attachment things to people, the body saying love these ones, and then getting pregnant on accident. And then girls are now having multiple baby daddies or having all these different issues. And then I've even seen women get very confused at the difference between a burden and a benefit when it comes to relationships. I actually did this training with a women's group, a couple of them, and this was one of the most difficult things for them to identify. Because remember, when it comes down to truth, women gaslight their own introspection. It's pretty much across the board. I haven't seen anybody who doesn't do it yet. If I said, do you know the difference between your burdens and your benefits? They would put that, well, he needs to love my children like his own. That's a benefit. And we're like, ladies, a man raising another man's child is not going to fall under benefits when you first start dating. There's a lot of drama involved here, and you're not going to be loved. And this actually goes for step parents, not just the men. Stepmoms too, same category here. They get a volunteer job to raise another person's children that's not theirs at all, no biological oxytocin connection here. And they sacrifice as much, if not more, voluntarily to get 1/15 of the appreciation and acceptance until maybe a decade or two later when the kid goes, oh yeah, you were the good one. And I was giving all the praise to the bad one because they were just my real parents. Like, so this is not falling under benefits, ladies. Don't go like, you need to love my children. And like, well, what about like the dad who's in prison and the other guy who's a drug dealer and then this guy who was an ex-ball player, and I'm supposed to take care of all of their kids and just like it. This isn't a benefit. You're at this point, the game is rigged for women winning. Even the successful women right now, the women who have won the game, they made their own millions and they're self-made and they're the attorneys and the doctors and the business owners and all that shit. If you're watching, these ladies are really struggling with love. They're struggling. Guys don't have hypergamy like women do. We're not dating for money, power, fame. We don't give a fuck. And if a guy is in our category, where like I make enough to make it so this does, I don't give a fuck. You could have a 50 or 500,000 or a million or whatever. I don't give a fucking fuck. I'm not going to go like, well, what's my cut? I don't give a shit. I don't care. And so this lady's going to come with what to me? I make more money. I don't want any of that. I don't really care. So what is she going to do? She's already like, not only has she aged herself out of the windows you were talking about, but she's also got no compatible features for the guys who would be at her level. Now it's competition, not compatibility. And so it's like, well, shit, these ladies are making videos going, I did everything I thought was right and I won and I'm alone. Ladies seem scheduled to lose with this. Later on, right now, just so you know too, the guys are unifying. Men are finding collaboration and connection and building with each other. I have hundreds of men in my group who have found more connection in like that's my brother, that's my guy, that's my go-to. He's got my back, ride or die. We have more guys building amazing empires together. And these ladies are just shitting all over themselves. And then they end up going, I'm going to go out and catch me another one. And I'm 48 years old, or I'm 39. I'm just going to dump this relationship with my 3 kids. And I'm going to go out and get me another, like, I'm going to get me a prince. I'm going to go get me the man. I'm going to get me a 1%er. I'll show all of you. And you know what's crazy, Sumi? They're not doing it.
What's crazy?
That's not happening. They're not going to go to the bar where they used to frequent when they were 21 and now they're 43 and get them a guy who just happens to be there, who makes $300K plus, who can't wait to take care of you and your 3 kids when you're sitting on, like, you know, in your mid 40s. Sorry, ladies. This isn't a Disney fairy tale.
I think it's because, well, here's the thing. Guys get it a lot more because, you're not making the money. It's very like measurable. Like, it's very measurable for guys. You're not driving this car. You're not making this money. You're not living this lifestyle. Sorry, bud, you can't enter because the cover charge is too much for you. That's just all it is. It's a very hard no for guys. And to be honest, men are often conditioned to rejection from an early age from, hey, you're the last pick on the basketball team. It's always competitive and it's physical, and men are more so, they understand like this guy is stronger than me. This guy is the tall kid in school is typically the most popular one. It's just from an early age, the taller kids get more women. The ones that hit puberty faster get more women. The ones that are on the sports teams get more women. It's very much dominance and hierarchy from an early age with guys. Whereas with women, it's not like that. It's more inclusive. And the actual bullying for women is more so exclusion. Like, you can't sit with us. That whole thing, that's where the bullying comes from with women. It's exclusion. It's privacy. It's really tenured information. But guys is a lot more measurable. Like, there's literally like a measurable rate of like, I'm making this, I'm making 6 figures, I'm making 7 figures. It's you can track it. Women, it's not like that. You're slowly getting older and you're slowly losing that agency. And then, one night you might have a guy that is really desperate for something. And it's a lot more, there's a lot more confounding variables with it. But I think that really 30 is the big age where a lot of women realize it, because when you change put the 3 in front when it comes to dating, that's where men kind of like cut it off. Even in dating app data, they cut it off at about 30. They want, a lot of older men want 26 to 30. That's like the age, like when you look at the data, and these are smaller sets, they look for those ages because those women they want these ages because women are starting to realize like, oh my God, I'm about to be 30. I need to settle down. And it's a really sweet spot now in today's dating generation because I have so many women that book with me. They're like, I thought I'd be married at 30. I don't know what went wrong. I'm 30 now and I'm single and I have this business and I'm making money and I'm doing good. And I don't know why men, that's the biggest thing I tell women to do. It's like, you should focus on financial stability for sure, but you need to prioritize your relationship more than anything else. Like, that is the number one thing, because you're not going, here's the grand scheme of it. Let's say you're a woman that's a boss babe, XYZ girl, and you make money. And I've had a ton of girls that when they joined my financial firm at 20, they're like, I want to be like you. I want to make the money you make. And I'm like, great. But then at 25, 5 years later now, they're like, I hate this. I want to marry a man. I want to do this. And one thing you'll realize, like, just by having a kid, I've seen this happen so many times. Like, one of our admins for our financial firm always was like workhorse, always wanted to work. I have never seen her take a day off. She had a kid and she got pregnant and she was like, I'm going to work. And I'm like, you need to focus on just being pregnant. Like, it's fine. It's not a big deal. Right. And, Now she had a kid. She don't want to work anymore. She does not want to work anymore. And I'm fine with that. And I put her in a position more so for supervising because she knows the process of our company, but she don't want to work anymore at all because she has a kid, and literally her day, she just wants to be with her son. That's it. That's all she wants to do all day, every single second, be with the kid. There's a massive transition. So it's like, even if you built up into this high value career and this amazing career with high income, the moment that you have a kid, you're going to change your metric of working. And you can either be a really good employee where you stay 9 to 9 and be a shit mother, or you can be a really good parent and be fully available for your child and then, not work as much. But if you do half and half, it's in a modern day culture, as long as your husband's splitting things, it might work well, but the valuation system changes quite a bit. Hope that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. And it's happening pretty hard. I've seen a lot of videos and talked to a lot of women who are like, I worked on education, I worked on my finances, I worked on my career. And then now that they've established themselves, I have a PhD, or I have money, or I have a job. And then they start getting into like, well, what are your relationship dynamics? And like, they're all trash. I don't know how to communicate with a guy. I don't know how to talk to a good guy. I don't even know how to do that. And I don't know why he doesn't like me for my PhD. We're like, what the fuck's a PhD going to do for a guy? He doesn't care. And like, I don't care how much money. Because could you imagine, ladies, if we were like, all right, our first date, she makes good money, and going, I'm really excited about that money. How much do I get if I'm with you? Like, what's my cut? How much of your money do I get to use for my own fun stuff? And this girl is going to be like, wait a second. Are you coming in here looking at my money? Well, like, well, you wanted equal. You wanted to be valued for how much you make or what you do. Well, if you're a human doing, well, how much do I get from you doing instead of you being a human being? And how much do we have compatibility in being? Well, if your compatibility is you work real hard and that's your priority, well, then it means I'm not going to be one for you. Well, tell me where the value is for me. I'd like to know, like, where does this compatibility come from when you're like, I'm choosing work over you always? And you're like, okay, cool. So then our relationship is going to be like number 4, number 5 on your list of things. And now let's have her get pregnant from a guy who's not with her, didn't stay with her. And now I've got, which priority system does relationship fall into? We don't know how to keep a relationship. You're going to be just being a provider and wanting to be the mother. And then you've got all these restrictions too, because baby daddy's involved, maybe. And then you're going to be like, now I've got rules for my kid that you better follow. These ladies are pushing themselves into a loneliness sphere, but their biology is not measuring up to A, the technology, and B, the lifestyle. Biology isn't catching up to this yet. If you want equal, you're going to be treated more masculine. And that's leaving ladies alone. The 30-plus world is not fun for the ladies. It's not a fun game.
It's
not,
unfortunate.
It's not a good time for them. So they may be having their hot girl summer in their 20s, but like 30, 40, 50s, when they think they're going to go back like they were in their 20s, these ladies are going to lose. We have an entire generation of ladies who are going to be like, what the fuck happened?
But the 20s are amazing for women. The 20s are lit,
Yeah, good job, girls. You girls got it, but the women are going to struggle. There's going to be, and you know who really struggles after these ladies lose? The kids. Because now they just have single parents. Mom is not very stable in her own, like her existence. So she's not being a nurturer. She's pushed real far into her masculine energy. So she tries to be a disciplinarian, which looks a lot more like the equivalent of a drag queen, which is a very hyper embellished version of discipline. Well, it's not a very balanced one, because that's where men can go like, if I raise my voice, you better chill out. And the kids go, that bass makes me chill. But mom has to go, sit down. You know, the teeth thing. Get off the chair.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where they like clench their teeth when they talk, when they're angry. What are you doing?
Yes.
No, guys and girls, we are different. Guys actually don't have to discipline nearly as hard because our general presence is going to be enough. I know even in my house, we got 3 teenage girls. Mom will be like, no, 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 and be like yelling at them. I'll be like, are you sure you want to do that? They're like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure you want to play the game? They're like, no, I don't. Like, it doesn't take as much.
They did a study on this. They did a study on this with single parenthood for males and like single male fathers. And like, I don't know if you saw this, but the data set kind of revealed children that are raised in households with just men Male fathers are less likely to get in prison, less likely to commit violent acts, are more disciplined in terms of their grades. They are less likely to have teenage pregnancy. It's like almost by 7 times less likely. It's a lot of different variables because men are the disciplinarians a lot of times in the household.
Men are also the structure. And this is something that ladies will try and argue. We are the logical beings. It's a yin yang. It does work together. If a woman does, because women are meant to be chaos. I did a training on this. They're meant to be the chaos, but chaos doesn't necessarily mean bad. A surprise party, that's out of the routine. That's chaos. I jumped on you when you walked in the door and said, I love you. I wasn't expecting it. That's chaos. There's surprises and happiness and joy, and something broke and we laughed. That's chaos. Instead of going, look what the fuck you did. Like, ladies are supposed to bring positive, fun energy. That's wild. She's dancing. She's doing something unique or something playful or something. I didn't expect that and I liked it. That's a chaos. That's like beauty. That's a good thing. More ladies go into creating chaos, especially if they're with a good guy who creates massive stability and safety, because they're like, everything is good. The bills are paid. We don't have any problems. The house is good. Like, everybody's okay. And they're like, well, if everything's okay, why am I not okay? Because, there's a lot of factors to going on with the ladies. Well, could be part of this 20s world they were in. It could be part of the way they grew up was an unstable household and they don't understand stability. So even if they got a good guy, they would shit all over it. There's not this system of chaos there's a system of chaos that's very wild emotionally. Now, if you're with the guy who's the dad, it's less chaos. Dad's going to be more like structured, and I can listen to you, and I have more stoicism. I'm not going to be as emotionally reckless, and I'm going to show you, like, hey, when things go crazy, here's how I handle it. Instead of going, everything is fucking horrible. Look, everybody go to their fucking room. And you're like, what's going on, Mom? I don't know. You're my fucking problem. Get the fuck out of here. And you're like, what is it? Oh, she's just having an emotional day. I'll tell you right now, I have a house of 5 girls. And let me just tell you right now, I know which week it is. I know what week it is for all my girls because everyone is turned the fuck up this week. I am aware that I'm like, I know what's happening for all of you this week because you're all fucking crazy this week. And so there isn't going to be that instability. And this is where the studies for the guys, and I work primarily with men, where I have good dads, and they are the calm in these kids' storms. But they also are structured. They also are firm. They also are strong. And they can be very stoic in their way of going, there's a way that we do things to make it so that you're set to win. And it's not going to be an emotional outburst. It's going to be a tactical plan and a tactical execution. How are we going to do this to make it so the odds are ever in your favor? And that's why the dads are needed.
I think we need both. Like I will say, like, so on that sheet, you can measure the impact of single males because the data is logical too. Because there's like, I think women also teach the empathy, the morality, the other values of cheating and infidelity.
It's careful with this wording. Here's why. Empathy for certain things, not their men. We've been doing a lot of work in this area. Empathy for the kids. Empathy for a TV show character. Empathy for their friends. Empathy for even their friends at the office or guy friends. But not empathy for their man. Empathy is different than well-being, and that's why people get it mixed up. So
there's something that
one thing I would play with.
The one thing I'll say is, like, that saying, like, women and children are loved unconditionally. That is true to a high regard. But I will say the one caveat I'll throw in with that is, like, beautiful women are loved unconditionally, because I think that women that don't have that presentability, they really suffer in the world, and they don't win a lot. I think that you need both people in both aspects. And here's the thing. If you have an 8-year-old kid that has known gravity their whole life, and I pick this up and I drop it and it falls, and you have an 18-year-old girl that has lived at the highest extremes from 18 to 25, and she opens her cell phone and there's 10 guys that want to talk to her, it's hard to be like one day, like, yo, gravity, that's not real. Yeah, like, they just made it up. They just turned it off. Like, they're going to be like, that's not true. Like, they're just going to literally look at you and be like, you're lying. I've been here for long enough to know. They've conditioned their mind to that. And it's difficult for people to revert back and start to realize it. And touching on your point earlier, I think masculinity is the number one primary, really the primary thing that you need in order for, you need masculinity before you need femininity. Because, when my father passed away, she was very masculine. She worked all the time. She didn't like really focus on being feminine in an aspect. And like you see single mothers jump into a masculine dynamic because they have to provide, they have to do things. And in a lot of workplaces, masculinity is going to be favored. That's why these boss babes are fully on with their masculine energy, but they don't know how to switch back or really tap into their feminine energy. Feminine energy is really just being. And I don't want to just say it's laziness, but it's just being. It's maintaining, regulating your stress. It's being calm. It's the men are always going to need feminine women. Like there's no man out here like, I'm an independent man, I don't need a girl like that. There's no guys like that. So, a lot of these women that are 40 that are boss babes and stuff, we deal with a lot of them and they're great people per se, but they just have made wrong decisions in their life and they're at an other side. And it's unfortunate. It's really sad because I'll say third wave feminism really pushed the barrier. It really pushed the narratives like you do not need a man. You can go sleep with as many people as you want. You can make your own money and you do not need anybody to provide for you because you make your own money. And now we have equal opportunity and now we don't need anybody to do anything for us. And it creates a very empty and vaporous life. And so now a lot of women, like you see the women now, because feminism was a huge thing back in like 05 to like 20, even now, like it's starting to like get killed off. Like a lot of women are now understanding like who signed us up for this? We have to provide for ourselves. Who signed us up for 50-50? Who signed us up for this mindset? Like there are so many women coming out and talking about it, and I'm glad that they are. And our generation tends to overcorrect. Society as a whole overcorrects a lot of times. So I think that traditional roles will be very popular once again. I think that religion in itself will come back a lot more, like hard religion, like having no social media is cool now.
Come back. Yeah.
Yeah. I think having no social media will be cool because back in the day, 2010, 2011, you had social media, you were the coolest person in the world. You had a lot of followers, you were cool. Even today, it's like that. But now when you meet a girl that doesn't have social media or a guy, they're like, oh, where have you been? You're a diamond. Like, let me grab you. Let me save you.
Oh, you're not stuck in the spider's web? That sounds awesome.
Yes. It's amazing. Yeah. It's a good thing. So
I like this thing where you're talking about the boss babes running into it. I do agree with you very much. Like I said, this generation of girls, like the women lose in this one. Women lose. And then the kids have to eat the curses that come from women making these highly me-ism selfish choices. Like that you said, the social media is creating Machiavellian and narcissistic women. It is. If you look at what it is, especially the women who are like, he's a narcissist and he's a narcissist, odds are you have more traits than he does. And so this is where like you're pointing the finger at maybe you. And I got 3 teenage girls, 17, 15, and 13. And even in the conversations that we've seen, our girls are already like, oh no, these girls are fucking up. Like they're already seeing like there's enough writing on the wall to go, I don't want to do it that way. That's obviously not going to work. And there's enough of the women who have carved their own deer trail that are going, hey, I did it. It's not working. It's not, I did all the stuff and it's really shit even when you win. And so our girls are paying attention.
Nowadays with social media, it's documented too, which is wonderful because you can see accounts of those women that are like the boss babes and 30 and they're like, hey, this is not working. This is not what I wanted. And now I'm really suffering for it. The big thing I'll say too is like, it's really, men get it hard though. Men like, if you're not playing at like, okay, if you're a guy and you're 25 and you're broke, like it's not the end of the world a lot of times. And I'm very open, like, cause dude, you have time. You have a ton of time to get it together. You can go crank out a 12-hour bartending shift. You can go do it. Physically throw your body into work. You're going to be able to be fine. You can go to a construction site and make XYZ amount of money. Now, when you get to like your like mid 40s and stuff like that, then it's like starts judging. And so there's no sympathy for guys that are like very, very old and they have nothing to show for it. There's no sympathy at all. Like there's nothing. And it's a very, very hard rejection. Like, yeah, didn't you know like that you're not going to be, when guys are, you know, you expect grandpa to give you presents. You expect grandpa to like foot the bill. Like there's like a norm there. And if you're not doing that, like guys face the hard side of it if they blew 20, 30 years. It's just that as guys, we have a longer time and our 20s typically suck. If you do it the right way, your 20s as a guy should be filled with work, should be filled with grinding. Even your 30s to a degree, they should be filled with work, you know? And so women, there's a slippery slope here. You can choose to, you have like a superpower and you can choose to abuse it. You really can. You can really get in the nitro mode and just be like, I'm just gonna party, drink, pop bottle tables, and
Well, that's the hard
go
part.
nuts.
It's like you said, those guys who are 21 who hit Bitcoin, girls are just able to, when they hit like 18, hit Bitcoin.
They're hitting the Bitcoin.
And you're like,
and
well,
I'll
they
tell
don't
you
know
this
what
too.
to do with it. So you're watching the girls who like, and this is where like a testament to the girls who like the people where you said lottery winners versus people who earned it. I would even give testament to the ugly ducklings who glowed up. Like that's maybe like the girl who was 250 who lost a bunch of weight and now she glowed up. And she's like, I remember getting bullied. I remember being exiled. I remember being reputation demolition. I remember having social media created just to bully me. I remember being picked on and unchosen because I was fat. And then going, I lost it and now I've got it. She's going to be way humble. And like,
yes,
wow,
yeah. No,
I had to earn. Now, the girls who didn't earn and they were just blessed with the genetics, they're going to throw it around like lottery winners. MC Hammer
they
with that
literally
shit.
just go nuts. They go nuts. And also, here's another thing too. The most narcissistic, the most Machiavellian are the guys at the top, the elite 1% guys, because they get it on another level. They get their raw level of sexual desire. They're the ones, if I had to say, not the worst people, but they have the most level of like narcissism, especially with relationships. Maybe not in business, maybe not in life, because they have to be. I don't think that anybody that's very, very successful in business is really like a dark, like they have to abide by certain rules. Like you step out, you're going to get canceled in business itself.
Exposed,
something's going to happen. Sure. You're going to get a lawsuit. You're going to get destroyed. But in a relationship aspect, those guys are the least caring. I don't care about you. I will chop you to the side. They are worse than women. And it's because they can just pay for access. See, even as a good looking girl, if you're the 1% type girls, you still got to sit there, seduce, and do something. There's still work. If you're a top level guy, money, go. Like you can, there's a niche of women out there that will abide and do what you want them to do.
But again, I think that this is where let's call shit what it is, ladies. If you're attracted to the guy for his money, you're doing prostitution. Let's call it what it is. Like
there's a lot.
I want the transactional thing. I want the lifestyle, but because he's taking me on vacation or because he took me in his car or whatever, like you're just trading body for money. Isn't that prostitution? Like, isn't that what it is?
It is, but it's also rationalized prostitute. It's rationalized because you need money to raise a family.
I would love to hear rational prostitution.
You need money to raise a family. You need, I mean, back in the day, once again, sex and children for provision and protection. That is transactional. Every relationship, by definition.
We're changing these rules here. You're talking about having a family relationship versus these girls who are getting flown out on a yacht. That's not the same thing. Saying somebody who is my committed partner who pays for things is very different than that's not my partner. He pays for things. Like this is the guy who he buys cool stuff.
It really depends. It really depends on their motive. It really depends on the motive because the motive is like something that we can never collect data on. Like, you know, the data, it's not like, oh, you know very clearly what this girl's motive is. There's a girl that's dating a guy that's maybe financially stable because she genuinely likes him and his personality. There's also a girl that will literally date this guy just because she wants the money and the lifestyle that he can provide. And she'll date him for the money. If he didn't have the money, nothing would happen. But then again, it's like one of these things, like I don't blame women for wanting successful guys because to raise a family, to raise a household, to be safe and secure, you have to make the right decisions and date somebody that's going to provide you that compatibility. Like I would say a woman that dates like the good looking bad boy, the type of guy that has nothing going on for himself is an idiot compared to the girl that dates the older guy that's making a little bit of money that is going to be able to take care of her. I would say that girl's a lot smarter. And so in certain aspects, I do actually think that women are very logical when it comes to their sexual selection because they ask a lot more variable questions. Is he tall? Is he handsome? Is he Christian? Does he work on Sundays? Because I like family time on Sundays. And is he making this type of money? Because I want to be able to, men are like, she's hot. Like, let's go for it. A lot of times men are just very dumb when they're young. They really start gearing up. Like men get it a lot better when they're older. Like when men, even like, you know, like as a younger guy, like in my industry, people tell me things that are 30 years older than me. And I'm like, they may seem wrong, but their wrongness is rooted in more experience. And so they might actually be right. You know, if that makes sense. Like they really might be right.
I'm one of them. I know.
Yeah.
The stuff I'm about to hit 42. And me at 30 was borderline retarded compared to where I am now. Like there's no comparison. I would beat the shit out of 30-year-old me in every category right now. Like every category. Oh, fuck me up at 30. So it's not the same game at all. And so it does get very, very different because my awareness, my training, my experience, my knowledge, every category is better now than it was even then. And even you in 10 years from now, if you're at an elite level now, your 40-year-old you will fuck 30-year-old you up, dude. It's not even going to be the same game for you. You're going to be like, I had all these things I was sorting out. Yeah.
It's every year though. It's every, like I remember it's declining a little bit every year, but I remember at like 19, I'd be like, what was I doing at 18? Then 20, what was I doing at 19? Every year I'm looking back, I'm like, man, I was an idiot. I was so stupid here. I was the dumbest person. And it's getting a little bit more stabilized, but I remember like 24 looking at 23, I'm like, what was I? I was the biggest idiot in the world. And yeah, that's why it's like, listen to your elders. Like there is a lot of science with it, but when you're a young girl, women that are young look at the girls that are 30 years old and they laugh at them. They're like, oh, she's old. That's why she's hating on me, because she's not young and beautiful like me. I'm on the winning side. And women that are 30, like I've noticed this at parties, like you bring the 30-year-old women, like, you know, the 28-year-old girls and like clubs and stuff. And there's like a group of 18, 19-year-olds. And like, you know, the younger girls go nuts. The bottle comes out, pour it in my mouth, that kind of stuff. And the older girls are like, classy shipping. You can't mix them. It's crazy. Like this is something that you learn as a promoter. It's just two different vibes. And the older girls are like, these girls are ratchet. They're crazy. You want to stay away from them. And the girls are younger, are like, these girls are old and boring. They just don't want to have fun. And it's women versus women a lot of times. Unfortunately,
it is.
Guys are more collaborative. Women are more like very much in competition with each other. That's unfortunate, you know?
Well, even that's where you said before, and I'm going to take this girls versus girls things. The looks and options will expose who you really are. And this goes for both ways, but you saw the girls who just betrayed all their friends and left them outside in the cold so they could go hang out with the celebrities. And the paid dinners, the open doors, the backstabbing, the quickening, the betrayal just seems, depends on the options. You even mentioned like, well, if you're 45 and I can make you 21 again and beautiful, would you leave your husband? And they're like, yeah.
A lot of them would.
You know, and this is where I'm saying, it's like, wait a second, your loyalty is based on your options. Now, there's going to be a lot of ladies who do not like what you're saying here, not at all. But this is, again, where I'm leaning in towards, well, ladies, are you gaslighting your own introspection? Now, I even had a thing where our 15-year-old called it out, and she's not an exception to this rule, where she said, when it comes to truth, we're fucking great at everybody else's shit. Horrible at our own. We do not do well with our own reality and our own truth. We cannot be honest with myself. If that girl is sleeping with 10 guys, what a slut. But if she's sleeping with 10 guys, she's like, I'm just living my best life. We don't call it the same thing.
One thing that I want to catch this here. When a woman doesn't like another woman, the first two things she goes for are her reputation. Oh, she's a hoe. Like it's the first thing she discredits. First thing, she's a hoe. The second thing is her looks. Oh my God, she's super. Like they break girl. When guys don't like each other, guys are like, oh, he's a loser. Oh, he's a bum. It's the first thing guys go for. And it's also looks too. It's like some level of discipline. But the first thing that guys hit, the dude's broke. He's a broke loser. And the girl's like, oh, she gets around. Like she's a hoe. That's the first nail out type thing. So just to say it, this goes back to sexual agency and power. But yeah, women, go back to your point. They are very good at calling people out. I think women give the best critical advice a lot of times. If you want to grow a business or you want to grow your look, yeah. But the thing is, there's a lot of room, because here's the thing. I'll tell you exactly why. Because when you're a beautiful girl and you say the wrong thing, some guy is going to agree with you. Like, yeah, you know, when a girl is single and she's out at the bar and like, yeah, he's such an asshole. Like every guy's like, yeah, I would never, if I had a girl like you, like I would never do that. It's like, you know, guys agree with beautiful women. They like, I love this song. It's so good. Yeah, me too. This is a wonderful song.
Is that the simping thing? Is that what that is?
It's simping. It's just agreeing. Women get agreed with. They're always right in a lot of ways, even when they're wrong, when they're beautiful. Like beautiful women, like I don't like cheese on my thing. I think it's weird. Don't you think it's weird? Like some guys will agree. Somewhere there's a guy that will agree just to get access to the woman.
But you're talking about, again, that hypergamy thing, the guys with self-respect and the guys who have their shit together, you'd be like, I still love cheese. Like,
but that's the accountability. If you're built up for years and years and years that you're the queen, that you're a princess, every girl is a 10. Like, oh, you're a queen. All my queens, all my 10s. Like, there's no girl, like, there's no things out there where like women are saying, yeah, like some girls are really good looking and some girls are not. Like, I've yet to find it where they're like, women are just saying this stuff. Every girl's a queen. Every girl's a 10. She's my bestie. She's beautiful. She's it. She's this. She's that. Like, guys don't say that. Like, guys don't judge themselves like that. So when you're hyperinflated for a period of time, it's hard to be accountable. And
there's a price tag to this. This isn't free, ladies. You guys think that I got free bottle service or you got free sex from an athlete, but these guys, they're not keeping you.
Mm-hmm.
And you think that removing accountability and removing truth makes it so that your truth is now the only truth. It's not free. You do end up alone in this one.
I think a great thing that you brought up there's like a lot of young girls that'll go on a date with a nice guy, like a guy that's got money. And extreme example once again, but they'll go on a nice dinner and they may not like the guy. They may not even care for the guy. But it's a $300 dinner. It's a nice party. It's a yacht thing. And the thing is, I'll tell women this all the time, like, you are losing in this interaction. Like, it's not even the guy, because the guy can pay for the stuff. But your youth, you're the youngest you are in this very moment. Your ability to negotiate is the highest it's ever going to be in this moment right now. You are throwing that away for someone that you're not interested in. You're going to a party that you know you're not interested in any of the guys there, but you're just going there for the Instagram pics and the likes and the attention and the feel-good moment right now. And when you're drinking that drink with the guy that you're not interested in, when you're eating that nice food at the restaurant that's buttered up, that's not healthy, that's not, chicken, broccoli, rice type thing, you are losing because the exchange that you're giving this guy, this man, is higher than the value that he's paying for, because money is replaceable. Time is really not, And so in those exchanges itself, I tell girls, like, you're losing, like, you're giving more of a value. And this is where I side with those younger women. You're actually losing a lot of times when you're doing this, because it's not free. When you're out at a table for bottle section and they're giving you $500 of free bottles, they're getting more in spend. Like, this is what we used to do. We used to get girls in, a young group of girls. We used to give them 2 or 3 bottles, and the bottles, really, like, think of the price of the bottle in a bottle service club. It's $30 for a fifth of a vodka. Okay. So we're spending what, $60, and we got a group of girls. And look, when beautiful women are in the room, the wallets open up. Like, men spend money. Like, that's just what it is. The goal of a promoter is not to bring in high spenders. That's not even the goal. It's to bring in attractive girls. That's it. If you have a group, if there's 20 attractive girls in XYZ area, men will show up and men will try to spend money. That's just how it is. Okay. So it's what I've learned. So we'd always bring in attractive girls, post them up there. And then if a guy wants to jump on the table and get more bottles, then he's going to spend money. And that one sale gets us the money back and more. And so, yeah, it's not free. You might be getting free bottles, but the cost of that business in itself is your time, your youth, your health, your energy. The next 5 hours of your morning when you're hungover and you have a bellyache from all the champagne you drank. You know what I mean?
I think it's a great point. I really do. I very much agree with you in just using the psychology behind what people are, going to be doing. I still lean in on this. And this is something that, like, I use as one of my foundational pieces for training to find where people are in their, their grief, their loss, their traumas, whatever parts it is. The quote from Epictetus that I use the most often, I made it more PC because it's more like, your circumstances do not make a man. Let's just call it what it is. Your circumstances don't define you. So the bottle service and being a hot chick or taking girls out to dinner and getting stuff for free and open doors and betraying these people to get in to go hang out with celebrities, it's not the circumstance that defines who you are. It just reveals you to yourself. You're a betrayer. You will use people for money. You will break your own golden rule in a heartbeat because somebody gave you an opportunity to. And it shows your values and it shows your morals and it shows your integrity because it's going to reveal you to yourself. What would it take for you to betray all of your friends and leave them out in the cold? Well, if I could just hang out with someone who's got status and not even be with them, I just get to hang out with them. Or like, what would make it so you left all your girls sitting out there, free shots in VIP, and like somebody who just wants to use me for a while, I'll leave all those people behind. And then like, what would make it so you betray your sexuality or betray your body or just give it away for whatever? Just somebody who was in the higher floor. Like you'll reveal you to yourself. And the same thing for guys. Like, how much are you willing to spend for company? What are you willing to give or sacrifice? How much you're going to reveal you to say like, that's who you are. You're that. And the question I would say is like, how many of these, if it was roles reversed, would you be okay? How many, if you were on the receiving end, you'd be like, I did not betray my own golden rules. I'm good. I paid for his $300 dinner just because he wanted a free nice meal, but I'm never going to talk to him again. Like, what?
With women, like a great example that you brought up with losing weight, right? I've seen girls that have lost and glowed up and all that stuff, and they abandon their old friend group because they're living a different lifestyle now, and they're getting attention from different types of men, and the barriers at what they can enter into are different. So I've seen girls that have moved down to Miami from certain like small towns, and they don't hang out with their small town friends anymore. And because they're on, I think one of the biggest things that blew my mind was Drake's birthday party. You know, Drake has a birthday party every October, and women will literally leave their friends and all that kind of stuff. And it's a really an amazing thing just to see. It's like really amazing. And in the nightclub, in the promotional world, you can really see the primitive aspects of human beings because we have alcohol that decreases inhibition. You have money. You have just extreme displays of wealth and power and extreme displays of promiscuity and femininity at high levels. And you really see human being at the core, the frontal lobe unmatched, you know? And so, when women level up in their ability to gain attention and verification and validation, even if they get a lot of social media followers, they start to abandon their friends a lot more. Men, when they level up financially a lot of times, because in a capitalistic world, money is a good indicator of power, they start to abandon their friends. Like you're not spending at the same level I'm at. You're not able to split the bill with me when I go out to bottle service. And so if you see men have a massive income rise, you see typically they start to amplify. If they like cars, they buy more cars. If they like watches, they buy more watches. And if they, like to hook up with girls, which a lot of guys do, they typically cheat more. Men that make more money typically engage in more infidelity. It is just a fact. Women, on the flip side, when they are more attractive, when they have more validation and verification, that's their level of power. Women that are more attractive, and this is a hard correlation to draw because it's more so experience, they tend to cheat more. The women I know that cheat the most are the ones that get the most attention. And I will also say the women that have the most sexual transmitted diseases and stuff like that, they're the prettiest girls. And like, it's so funny to me, like when I see guys like, oh, like she's so beautiful, like she could never have, like guys think that a beautiful woman is perfect. Like, dude, like she's the one you got to watch out for. She's the one that probably has something that might catch you. And unfortunately, it just is what it is. And because those girls get more attention. When you have 30 guys every day messaging you, you're beautiful, you're a queen, blah, blah, and you have over 1,000 guys a month saying that, one of them is going to break a seal, is going to get a look. It's just the nature of what it is. And some of the girls I dated in the past were Instagram models. They cheated on me the most because they just got a lot of attention. And I thought that's what success was, dating these really attractive girls that were just gorgeous. They were the ones that were the most difficult for me to date, and the ones that cheated the most, and the ones that, really break you down. You have options on options on options. So the more options you have, the more likely you are to engage in infidelity and and betray yourself. So you have to almost artificially restrict yourself as a guy and as a woman. And this is what I do on a day-to-day basis. When I go to my Instagram feed, for example, and if I go on here and I'm looking here, right? If I'm on my Instagram feed, it is literally just, it's like this, right? It's like Rottweilers, and there's my Apple Watch. It's like Rottweilers and some podcast stuff and whatnot. But you see these things right here. This, for example, I don't know who that is. I'm going to click on this and hit not interested right there. I'm going to hit not interested. And I'm going to cut that out. And this is something I do daily. And social media knows that I'm a guy, and I just have to keep doing that to where my algorithm, that's what I did on TikTok for hours every day. I just hit not interested. And so you have to restrict that kind of attention. It sounds weird, but like you have to kind of control the animal. I think that every guy is like a werewolf almost. Like, and then you got to like chain yourself up and like control the beast. You really have to. And the more testosterone you have, the more women you're going to naturally attract. The more, like, not, that's a very bold way of simple way of saying it. But the more you are a man, the more disciplined you are, the more women you're going to get, and the more you have to control yourself because you have more to lose. And it's hard to do that as a guy. And this is where women and men really have to be very careful. If you're a very successful guy, if you're a good looking guy, if you're sharp, you got it going on, you have to almost restrict yourself from following certain types of girls, from engaging in certain conversations, and being one-on-one with certain types of individuals to get rid of that temptation. And I see the most successful guys, like a lot of my friends are athletes, are like, yeah, stay away from women. Women are very dangerous. And that's just unfortunate. And on the flip side, with women, if you're a very attractive girl, you're going to have to be very cautious with the guys you hang out with, because yeah, it can get traumatic. It can be dangerous. It can be forceful. It can be a situation you don't want to be in. And you have to control the influx of that attention. You know what I mean?
I think you're right on, man. I very much agree with that. I very much. And this is like the awareness aspect of those things where you can see trained or untrained. I also think it's wild to watch how these young girls will put themselves in dangerous situations. I work with men, and I'm a strong guy, but I'm not the strongest guy. One of the guys I've trained is one of the strongest men in the world. Like, he's a professional strongman. Like, he's fucking powerful. And like, there's guys who these girls will just go hang out with who are literally as strong as a gorilla or a grizzly bear. And they're going to go do what? You're not going to do anything. This guy he can do whatever. You can't stop him. I couldn't stop him. You can't do anything. I'm a trained fighter and can't stop these guys. Just look at what happened with Shaolin fighters when they brought in giant Norwegians. It was like, we can't beat them up. They're too strong. Like, there's a thing. And these girls are like, I'm going to go on a date with him because he's 6'7" and he's 400 pounds of muscle. I'm like, that's a grizzly bear. Like, hold on a second. Don't just go on this date. This is dangerous. Like, this is not a safe place. He may be a good protector, or he may be the most terrifying thing in the planet to you. Hold on a second. And so you watch these girls go put themselves in very, very, very dangerous situations.
It's not even just with that too. I remember being at a club in New York, and I saw like this guy order this insane, these bottles that were like $1,500 a piece, right? Very expensive bottles and stuff like that. And he's pouring it down girls' throats. And this one girl kind of like, he looked at this girl, kind of reached the bottle out. Every girl's taking a shot. And this one girl was like, kind of like, no. And he grabbed her face and just put the bottle in her face until, she drank it and it spit out. And then she was covered in, foam and stuff. And it was like a bad thing. Like, it was very bad. And this wasn't me working there, but cause I worked when I did it in Ohio and Florida, but in New York, like, no one's saying anything to this guy. This girl's upset. She goes home, and like, it's like everyone should take a pause in this moment, right? Everyone should really understand, like, this is an extreme display of dominance. This is an extreme display of power. And even in those situations, like, you're not safe. If you're at a back end party with a bunch of, and this guy's spending money and stuff, it can be a very bad situation. I think that you should always be very cautious on who you hang out with and engage with, because if you're a girl and you're just leveraging your sexuality, you get into positions of men that are very powerful, and those men can put you in a bad position. And if you're a girl, and if you're a guy and you're very powerful, those girls can trap you, poke holes in condoms, extort you, say that you hit her. It's a very dangerous mindset to be in. And look, any good lawyer and if you're very powerful, they're going to tell you to settle. They're not going to want it to go to court. So you're losing $20,000, $25,000 right then and there, just dealing with an allegation. And this is like the dark side of things, Yeah,
that's wild too. It's even too still with like the rise in we should be treated equal. It's not equal, ladies. And I think this is where it's one of those things too, where the loudest men's rights activists are women right now, because they're realizing that this pendulum push for 50-50 equal everything, we can do it better than men, all that shit is coming down to where this guy can literally just manhandle her by the face and pour drinks on her, and she can't do shit. Like, if she could kick his ass, she would have.
Equality is a very romantic concept, because the whole thing with women's equality, if there was a situation where all the men in the world was like going to fight all the women in the world, like, it would be done deal. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I say this like in the best way. If I'm like, there's girls that might be taller than me and heavier, I'd still, like, we're guys, we're just stronger. We have more muscle mass. It just is what it is. And that's just unfortunate. But women also have, like, guys are always going to need women. And that's like so ingrained mentally in men that we're always going to need women. We're always going to value women, and women will always have a place in life for a man.
This is a dangerous sentence if we can't answer it. Like, men will always need women. And there are questions that we should actually go, what for?
Mhm.
And
I think
right now it's getting really, really fuzzy because these ladies are coming in with high boss babe masculine energy and they're messing up their reason that we need them.
it's great that you said this because these boss babe, okay, so they're saying this, men always need women, and it's a very glorifying concept and idea for those women because they feel like, okay, you're always going to need me. Men in the United States are getting married at the same rates as they were before, but women are not. And so what's happening a lot of times is men are marrying women that are outside of the country. And there's this whole concept of like passport bros, which like I'm not here to encourage it 100%, but like it does happen. It very much in the Philippines, very much in Colombia, very much in like India, Turkey, all these countries. And it's because as a man, you can go get a girl overseas and you can lead her and she can follow you. And that's one thing, but it doesn't work the other way. Because if you were to go get a guy in India where the dollar is just a lot stronger, if you go to Colombia and you get a Colombian guy where the dollar is 4 times stronger, it's hard to bring a man here. He's not going to be at a restaurant like, hey, honey, what would you like? Hi, how are you? Nice to be here. She doesn't like that dish. Can you send it back? Like, he's not going to be able to do that because he doesn't speak the language and he can't lead the relationship. And he doesn't know what a Sunoco is or what a BP is or what a Chick-fil-A is. He just doesn't know. And so he's not going to be able to, number one, provide at the level. So that is almost gone. And number two, he's not going to be able to regulate himself in the society. Like, whoa, this is my girl, dude. Like, back up. It's not like that. Whereas a guy, it's really just like how good of a mother you can, and you can be a good mother if you speak Turkish. You can be a good mother in America if you speak Turkish, and you can be a great partner in bed if you speak Turkish in America. It doesn't matter. But for being a good partner as a guy, you really have to speak like, I would say, English or Spanish in America, really. Depending if you're in the real South, you can get away with Spanish, but English is one thing that you need here. And so that whole passport bros thing, it really changed a lot of things because men can get women into the country with citizenship now, and they can marry, and men are still marrying at the same rates. And so when you go overseas to some of these countries, and I've traveled a lot all over the world, I see a lot of guys from the States, you know.
Would you say this is because like the Western philosophies, the social media thing, this boss babes, all this stuff? Again, it just seems like ladies with these philosophies,
it still exists over there.
They're not winning.
Think about like a boss babe that's like 25 years old. She's making $250,000 hypothetically, right? Sure. She is going to want a guy that's going to make a little bit more than her. Let's put the 36% number, right? Okay. That is really hard to find. But let's say there's a boss babe in the Philippines and she's making that like a good amount of money there. That can still be attained by a guy that's making $50,000 here. You know what I mean? Because the dollar is so strong. And that's like what the guys that go there have such a large amount of finance. And the country, in a third world country, there are still very traditional gender roles. Like women are raised to be wives and take care of men. And there's almost an imbalance there. So a man that is making 30 to 40K USD is very, very financially stable in these countries. And it's just very, you know, even if she had that boss babe mentality, it's equivalent to this guy making $2-3 million here, and she's making $250,000. She's like, okay, yeah, you're better than me. Like you're making more money than me. Like, you know what I mean? And the standard of living is a lot lower there too in these countries. So a man can come in and influx, you know. I know girls in like those countries that make $250 like sometimes like in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks. And like for us, that's not the average income, you know, in a lot of these countries, like $800 to $1,600 USD. The US, it's not like that. You know, it's closer to 3,000, 4,000. So
yeah, it's a good point.
They have a lot more ability to provide.
Well, we can just outsource the types of women that guys will be looking for. I think there's a giant group of women. Like there's like a good 15-year gap here of women who are going to be like, fuck, we really fucked ourselves. Like we had a lot of fun at the beginning, but now we have like sourced ourselves out, and now these guys are grabbing a Filipino or a Vietnamese girl or a Russian or whatever, and they're like, I'm grabbing up a different one. I'm just gonna get something different. And these ones aren't as argumentative. They aren't as complaining. They don't have this like you said, the value is all goofed up because they used to date a ball player for a while, and now they think they're supposed to be treated like that. And you're like, well, these ones are humble as hell. And they're really generous, and they're very cool, and they're not doing that. And so it seems like that this philosophy that's happening, it's not free. It seems like ladies lose, and the children who are made from these lifestyles, who they have split homes, it seems like the kids have to break the curse that mom and dad did when they were being wild. it just seems like these kids are going to have to pay the cost for it. And like, look at this thing. Were you ever bullied in like middle school or anything?
100%. Yeah. All the
Me
time.
too, for sure. Like, listen, I didn't look like this in middle school. I was a skinny little shit. I was nothing. I was easy prey in middle school. And so I was just a scrappy little fuck because I had to be. That's all I had. I wasn't jacked at all. I was a skeleton. And so like, I didn't have any currency. There wasn't any ass kicking or anything that could be done. But think about the bullying that would happen if the guys who knew you or people knew you could just pull up a fuck ton of porn on your mom.
Yeah, no, that's a whole thing. But like you're talking about like OnlyFans and stuff like that. Yeah, it's bad. I know it's already starting to happen at younger. I mean, this is already happening, and it's a bad thing. It like I don't even know the amount of damage. It's incalculable because that's like the lowest blow. Remember we had Yo Mama jokes. Your mama's so fat that even the Grand Canyon, like there was like jokes. I mean, remember those jokes. And it's,
why you late? Because your mom was keeping me after, man. You're like, we were always it's your mom jokes, but it's not your real mom because your mother's lovely, and so I don't really fuck your mom.
But now it's a daggered. It's like it's
like
over.
No, I really do. I jerk off to your mom every night, dude. You're like, fuck, man. You really
crazy.
Do. Your mom 20 years ago.
That is probably one of the
hot as hell.
It's one of the worst things that you can really put your kid through, and it's very unfortunate. I mean, like it's like the equivalent of like I guess like back in the day, or even now, like if your dad goes to prison or does something very bad and whatnot, it's bad. But I think that's the worst thing because it breaks down the integrity of the family and it kills every aspect of it. And it's like it that is a bad area to go into. Like women, unfortunately, if you do that, you're subjecting your child to a lifetime of just getting destroyed. And this is why female porn stars also commit suicide at such high rates. You know, like a lot of female porn stars. Here's the thing. I've noticed it. Like, first off, it goes into simple scenes and then it goes into more and more and more because once a guy gets satisfied with a certain amount of looks and stuff like that with you, and this is actually from information I've gotten from porn stars themselves, they want more. They want different scenes. They want you doing different things. They want you with different guys and they want you in different areas. And it keeps getting more and more and more and more and more to where the industry has every single type of scene that you have done, from regular to amateur to anal to this to that. And it gets crazier. And at a certain point, then you hit past 30, 35, and very few women can retain it at that level because it's always the biggest number, the biggest demographic of porn that gets the most attention is amateur porn with new girls, like the 18, young, underage. It really is if you look at the search, that's what it is. That's the sickness of it. And so if you're a big porn performer, you don't really get more by doing more scenes. You decrease your market value more and more and more because everything is already exposed one scene. So it's very, very detrimental to women, but women get paid more than men. Men almost make no money in that industry because it is what it is. And men get more with every scene, but they also don't make a lot of money. Like male porn stars, really big one will make 40K, you know, like 50K.
Really?
That kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know much about that. Yeah.
But female porn stars, top level ones will make millions, right? And like, yeah, top porn guys will make $250,000 and they'll get some kind of money. But the females will make way more shoots, promos, setups. And then it goes from porn to live events of you being promoted and you being naked to stripping to just being nothing. And that's where a lot of girls kind of off themselves because they can't find guys that are willing to commit to them and be in serious relationships with them no matter what, because there's so much, it's just broken and it's unfortunate. And in order for her to find a guy that wants to be with her, it's like she has to stop. The relationships are also very fake too, because you're hooking up with your wife who's sleeping with another guy, and it's like it's very crazy. There's a niche for it. I would say
interesting thing. Yeah,
it's crazy.
That's a wild game.
It is. I think at the end of the day, if women are able to, I think you really should wait for the right person. I hate to say it, like, you know, you go back to the old idea, men and women both. You should really wait for the right person. Monogamy does win when it comes to child rearing. Like monogamy is arguably the number one institution for child rearing. It is. There's no data that suggests otherwise. And in today's modern society, monogamy wins with every social norm. Bringing your wife here, getting dinner, this, that. It's not like you and a couple. It's always two tickets. It's the coupled aspect of it. It's even the Ferrari in the car. There's one seat and another seat. You know, it's not just 10 seats on the side. You got to understand that that's where our society should head back to. And I try to educate people on that. I'm not here to endorse men to go sleep with 30 girls when they got the money. And I'm not here to endorse women to sleep with 30 men when they have the looks. It should always be conservative.
Yeah, it's a wild game we're in, because if that's the final answer, it says, don't play this game.
Mm-hmm.
This game is not for winning. This game is going to be instant gratification, and then later it costs you a lot. And
here's the flip side for men too. Like, we know the 30-year-old boss babes. The other side is the guys that have had baby mamas with girls that they don't even know, that are extracting them and getting them on child support payments that they can't even, like, there's so many guys I know that are just ruined by women that make their life a living hell because they got them on a court order and they can't show income. And then maybe they get in. A woman that is able to bring violence out of you is a very dangerous woman as well. Sometimes they do something that ruins their life for life. You know what I mean? And guys also lose. They lose half their stuff marrying a woman that goes and hooks up with somebody else and says one day.
Those women have killed marriage. Like, I don't swing full red pill on stuff, but these guys are making better and better points. Like, I wish that they weren't, because, like, ladies, this is your opportunity to kind of step up and make these guys wrong, but it seems like they're trying to amplify these guys to be correct. And that's confusing behavior. Like, if these guys are saying women are doing this, so, like, these are the business owners who are doing well, who are going, well, we're looking at the marriage contract and it looks like a terrible business deal. So we're not going to play
marriage laws were invented in the 60s. They're very much like, they're with the mindset of women not earning, right? So divorce also wasn't a thing. Divorce was very taboo. Marrying a divorced woman was like a very like weird thing to do in the 60s and 70s. Like, it was like, oh, you're divorced. Like, something must have really, really gone wrong. Like, India has a less than 1% rate of divorce because the marriages are more so arranged and people are very cautious with it. And it's not like a thing that happens because everything is involved. But marriage
also
can be very dangerous for a guy.
Like that too. There's also levels and stuff that matter too.
It's income that matters. Really, it's money at the end of the day.
Got it.
With marriage though, like the guys that I see like that are the 30-year-old, that have hooked up and done that, they're the ones that have spent their time engaging with women, meaningless relationships, haven't focused on the number one distraction for a man is women. Number one distraction. And I've seen a lot of guys throw their 20s away, throw their 30s away. They get diagnosed with a health problem and they're unable to keep up with themselves. And even though they want to work now and do all these things, they're unable to do that. And they can't get a woman to engage with them because they're just in a position and they'll never have love and they'll sit there and jerk off for the rest of their lives. And it's very unfortunate. And that's like the opposite side of it, Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like it's not a winning game. It does seem like this is the videos that we made too, where people do want to try and say the high value does come just mostly with looks and finances. And I would say that if you're really going to try and win this game, the values are going to be a lot longer than that. It's not high value, but high values. And that's where it does get into the loyalty and the honor and the dignity and the respect and the things that people have a hard time defining what they are. But being able to go, if I can really spend some time on myself to know thyself, it gives me the options to be able to not only have accountability, authenticity, and openness and honesty, but also like I want to add one more thing in here that it also should be important for a healthy relationship. And I know that you agreed with this too. I listened to you with autonomy. And I think people discount autonomy in relationships, that you should have the ability to hold your ground when somebody is being abusive, whether it's male or female. And being able to say, well, I will remove myself because I do have the ability for independence to do so. And this is something I think people may not fully understand is being taken for granted and advantage of the most, is when you were talking about the guys who are like begging and I'll do anything and you can go ahead and cheat on me and I'll stay with you and you can do whatever and it's okay, and not having the ability to go like, if you do that, I'm leaving. That's a non-negotiable. So Agreed. What are some of the opinions that you would give people? Like, should I keep autonomy in my relationship, or does it mean go all in, everything 100%, you complete me? What do you think?
I think ideally that's the perfect norm, to go in all in, but like you do that after. Okay, so first off, you need to date people properly. Dating is the tough conversations. Dating should not be fun. I think that's the biggest thing that people get messed up. Dating should be the tough conversations and the really like tough decisions. And I think people make dating fun And when dating is hard and you're asking all these difficult things and you're trying to get to know somebody, marriage becomes very easy because you know who someone is. And I think that dating should be very much like like, what happens if we get divorced? What would you do if I cheat? Like, these are like the conversations you should have, like, seriously. And also, if you're choosing with emotion, you're always going to fail. A lot of times in a relationship, if you're choosing very emotionally, you're going to have emotional results. But if you're more so calculated with the way that you're picking people and you're looking at the red flags and you're looking at compatibility first, love is not what makes a relationship. Love is amazing to have, and love is a great cherry on top, but compatibility, trust, loyalty, respect, these are the things that really make a good relationship. And these are the things that prevent things. When we're young, we want volatility. We're attracted to the up and down and all around because we like stimulation. But real healthy people are boring. They're not crazy. You know what to get with them. And so it's like, well, I want him to just surprise me with flowers and do this and do that. And like if you know how predictable he is, you're not going to get that. And it becomes very difficult for us to stomach that idea until we get in a position of, like, before it was for survival, like union and stuff like that. It was really for survival. Now it's not like that anymore. And, you know, you needed a woman to be in your life to help you with the kids. Like, you needed that stuff. You can hire somebody else to do it. Like, you need a man to protect you and be there for you. And now I think, like, the big thing that you have to understand is, like, you really need to look at a man's legacy. If you're a woman, you have to ask him these questions about purpose and legacy and what he wants to do. And you need to have these tough conversations when you date, because then you're going to be in more of a position to jump in both feet first. So I don't think that autonomy is always like, but it is a necessary evil. It's a necessary thing, but you should idealistically go in both feet first. And for men, you should really look at her habits, her background, her lifestyle, her friends, her surroundings, her family. You can tell a lot about a woman by her surroundings, and, you know, you can tell a lot about a man by his actions. And so men should look at every single aspect of a girl's life and analyze it as much as they can, get all the dirt. And women should really ask a guy what his goals are and look at what actions he's putting forward for the future. So that's where you can really carve somebody out and jump into autonomy, or not autonomy.
It's funny that you just said it that way. You just said you should be looking at her past and her circumstances for her dirt, and he should be looking toward his future on being able to be better for himself. It's funny how it's like the interview is opposite directions. This is important, I think, for these girls who are hot girls, some are in their 20s, living it up. Is like, well, if that dirt comes out, or your OnlyFans things comes out, or the you used to do porn comes out. If it comes out, does that make it so the guy who is on the rise is going to be like, well, I want that one? It's interesting that you said it that way, where it's like, no, what you do and did matters. And then for the guys, it's what you do and where you're going matters.
Well, it never changes who you are. If I killed 5 people, I'm a serial killer. Like, no amount of, like, restitution can really change that in a realistic sense. And so if you slept with 5 X, I mean, then let's up the numbers. Let's say you slept with 500 guys, right? You're going to be known as someone that's very promiscuous and engaging in a lot of that activity. And it's not like something you can erase.
Girls don't call it that to the other girls. Remember you said reputation demolition? They don't go like, she is just adventurous with her promiscuity. They don't say that.
Yeah, no, but if you're out here, you can't erase that. You can't, like, get rid of it. And, you know, I knew a girl that worked at a restaurant near me, and she slept with a lot of guys, every guy. She moved back home 2 hours away, never brings her guy around here, never. And she was a good friend of mine. We were just friends, and that's all it was. And this was back in the day. And when she was a server, and she was, you know, I knew her, and she was a nice girl, but she did sleep with a lot of people. And she'll never bring her guy around because she knows that if she brings him around, there's probably 5, 6, 8, 9, 10 people that she's slept with at these, just around. And that guy has probably a different idea of who she is. She, like, kind of got rid of her social media and everything like that to detach from all that. She reinvented herself, you know? And maybe they have a happy relationship, and you know, I don't know what the dynamics are because I don't talk to them that often, but, like, it's very interesting.
You have an idea. You have an idea, though. That dynamic is based on not knowing who I am or was.
The past. It's not, you know, they don't come down in the city ever.
But it's really funny how, like, well, you can still be held accountable for your past, but I don't want to be. So again, gaslighting, introspection. Instead of going like, no, this is who I am and this is what I've done, I'm going to make believe. I'm going to keep you away from areas, or I'm going to, I won't tell you the truth because you understand that my value is going to be different if I'm honest.
Because if that guy had known that she did X, Y, and Z, he may have not wanted to be with her. That's all it is. And it's
ladies,
it's omission. Attention. It's omission of relevant information, which is lying. It's just omission of relevant information is lying. It's all it is.
Accountability and truth, or even accountability to the truth. I'm putting it out there for the ladies to challenge this. It is one of the largest curses that I have for women. Is denial is at the core of almost every protection system that they use. The truth and accountability cannot come into play because it will expose me, and I want to control the narrative as much as I can.
The other thing too is it's guys can do this as well. Very well. It's easier for a guy to win the upper hand first. I'll say this too, because women, when you go on a date with a girl, you see what she is. Like 60% of the process is sexual, and you can see if she looks like her photos and whatever it is. But a guy can do it to another level. Oh yeah, I just parked my Lambo down the street over there, and I got my Rolls Royces in service. And hold on, this is a call from an investor. Like, it's like guys lie a lot. And I tell women this all the time. Guys lie because it's advantageous. It puts you in a different category and different perception because women like a guy for his future. And if I can lie about the things that I have or I'm going to do, it can really put me in a good category. And I can start to win.
This goes into those manipulators you were talking about. Now, this isn't as common for guys to be as Machiavellian or as narcissistic as the ladies will be, but this is what they look like. And you talked about love bombing and those being major red flags for ladies. You want to go ahead and just smash on that for these people? Like, well, what should I look for?
Well, if you're a lady, I think, once again, actions. Guys lie, okay? And I tell this to girls, and if your daughters are listening to this stuff, the guys lie. Guys lie all the time. And a lot of times they're smaller lies. They're not as damaging, I would say. They're not as they're small white lies that can't necessarily be verified. Like a lot of smart guys will do this, like manipulative guys, I should say, and they'll be very strategic with the way that they lie too. It's almost humble flexing. It's a lot of that humble flexing where, I had to pay this electric bill for my penthouse. It was like $900. Like, so expensive. It's like a humble flex, and it creates because women overthink and they start saying, okay, if his electric bill is $900, my electric bill is $100, and my apartment is 1,000 square foot. By logic of that, his penthouse must be 9,000 square feet. It just keeps going and going. And so a real smart manipulator will place small signs that create, really that allow the overthinker or the anxious to really expand onto it. And it's a very well played out move. And women can only get away with so much, right? With lying, like, the sexual aspect of it, it can't go too much farther than the guy can look at you. He'll be like, yeah, you look like your photos. You look good. That's what it is. And then they can lie about their past a lot. Oh, like he's just a friend. Like I really don't like going out or anything. Like they can say that kind of stuff. And that can be verifiable to a degree if the guy knows enough people around her circle. And that comes down with digging. So, but even it goes both ways. So I think there's 3 stages of every relationship. There's faith, where if I'm on a date with XYZ girl named Sarah, I think we can be good together. I think you're a really nice girl, so on and so forth. Let's try this out. Then there's verification, where you're looking at the things that she's doing. Okay, she said she showed up at 7, but she's here at 7:05, late. Oh, she's here a little bit early. Great. She said that never been here before, but the server knows her by name. That's weird. Or she says she's never been out before, but the bouncer, she's hugging the bouncer, like, and she's getting in for free. Like, it's verifiable. Or like, she doesn't look like her photo. It's verification. And for the girl, it's like, he said that he's a multimillionaire, but he wants to split the bill. Or like he said that, like he said that he's very well known, but nobody's recognizing him. Or that he eats here often, but the owner doesn't even know him. It's like different things like that. Guys lie to exaggerate, to boast, to really amplify themselves. Women lie to omit, to hide, and to belittle information a lot of times. So the way that we even lie and we avoid these things is very different. And it's because the more information that you find of a woman being out and about and doing this and that typically decreases your interest in her, because you know that you can't afford her lifestyle or make yourself. And it's a very realistic double-edged sword, because you might not be able to afford her lifestyle. And that's not necessarily shame on her or shame on you. It's just an unfortunate compatibility thing. And on the flip side, if she's been out here with a lot of guys, you know that you have to really get into competition with all these other guys. And I think the biggest thing that sucks is for a guy to walk into a bar and, maybe some guy starts a problem with him. And the number one thing that he can do to auto win the conversation is says, yeah, I hooked up with your girlfriend 3 years ago. Have fun with the sloppy seconds, And so it's very unfortunate here in those situations where you have a guy that just he can auto win those conversations just because he's been with your woman. That's the number one thing, because that's your home. So when you're a girl, you've got to understand that a lot of times in the first 10 minutes of meeting a guy, they're typically going to engage in a lot of lies. They're going to say a lot of things that aren't true. And with men, they're going to really represent themselves as more innocent and humble and, oh, I don't know this and I don't know that, because they omit information. So when you're going down with a guy, understand that the truth, it may be knocked down a bit. If he says he's making $1 million, he might make a quarter of that, right? If she is saying that, oh, I don't know this, like I've never really been here, imagine if she's been here more or something like that. And I hate to go into the mindset of thinking that everybody lies, but you should be a little bit cautious. You should be calculating until you verify the behavior. Then you can get into trust. So back to this faith, verification, and trust thing. It's like owning a Ferrari, and it's like, oh, Rick, one day I think you could drive the Ferrari. I mean, yeah, maybe one day you could drive it. Verification is me sitting in the passenger seat like, okay, dude, go slow, dude. Like speed bump, like just slow down, turn it right here. And then trust is like, here's the keys, bring it back whenever.
Mm-hmm. I like this. Here's the thing with this, with the everybody lies thing. I'm actually writing on this in my newer book that's coming out this year. When it comes to truth has become very subjective for human beings, especially with this new social media push of, well, what's your truth or my truth? And, when it comes to truth, everything is really just perspective or just the point of view that we're looking at or their opinion. Truth has become more subjective than ever, especially with the egos that we have in this world. And when it comes down to, well, like, he's going to try and impress you. And that's if he isn't impressive. Because let's call it what it is. If you make $250,000 a year, that's still pretty impressive. Like you're still 1%er. Like that's still badass. Like just because it's not million doesn't mean it's not good. It's still good. It's more than proficient. Move to Vietnam. You're the man. So I'm just saying, like, it's not that if these guys are doing like that old rule of 3, like whatever the guy's number is, divide it by 3, and whatever the girl's number is, multiply it by 3, like the rule of 3, which is probably very different these days. Like it's those kind of things where if guys are lying to make themselves look better, so you choose them, and guys are lying to make themselves seem less like they are, so you choose them. It's a very interesting game where you go, who's telling the truth? Now, here's where the bigger lies happen. It's I work with people in the deep work here. I work here with people. That's where the most lies are. The most lies are us versus us. It just is, especially if you get into like belief systems or doubt or, the things for like fear even. Most fear isn't real. The lies that we say, the belief systems that we operate under, and I don't mean just religion. I mean like the belief systems about what do you believe about yourself? You get into the philosophies of, am I a good person? And you can see how people answer. The justifications that we've created for the harm that we've done on others and how we lie about what that is. So as far as like omission and deflection and dismissal, it seems like everybody changes the truth to make it so that I give you the narrative that I want you to believe I am. It's a tricky game right now for humans to be able to work themselves into true, open honesty. Do you want to know the main reason why?
Go ahead.
Because people can't handle the truth.
A lot of people can't, and
can't just I think that
people have an amazing ability to rationalize any situation. So, like, if you look at a person that's homeless, some of them might hate being. I was sleeping in my car at one point, and there's a lot of people that became homeless and they hate the wealthy. Why do you need that? Why do you need this stuff? You don't need excessive amounts. There's people that hate people that have abundance. And then for me, it was more like, wow, look at how much these people don't like have, and it's amazing. And I get inspired. When I went down to Naples, I was inspired by all the income that these people have. These are talking like $100 million compounds. I was like, wow, this is amazing. I hope one day I have something like this. And some people might look at this and be like, that's just unreal. It's just disgusting spending. This car is 1.2 million. Like this, it's just not even worth it. It doesn't make any sense. And so people have an amazing ability to rationalize. Sometimes when people become homeless too, they find God. So when someone goes through a bad situation, they can say, oh, I hate, let's say a person gets, traumatized. They get beat up, right? they may hate all men. They may hate all women. They may hate certain types of races. Like if a person that hit them was Indian, they might say, "Oh, I hate Indian people. They're bad people." Or they might find God and say, God showed me this because I was in a bad area in a bad time, and that's not what I should be doing. Or they can start to rationalize, like, I got to be stronger. Like, I can't. That was amazing that he beat me up. If I can get in a better situation, I can learn how to fight back. And so we all have an amazing ability to rationalize. And really, yeah, you're right. The truth is very subjective. And most people can't understand other people's opinions or the general truth, I'll say. The general truth of what really operates and what wins and what doesn't win. And I think the moment that you start understanding that the world is not fair and the world is unfriendly and the world is that truth, when you grab onto it, it is so liberating. It allows you to perform at your peak levels, and it really allows you to really cut through the nonsense and focus on what works. So with a lot of guys that I talk to, like a lot of young guys, like 21, like, I'm not getting girls, like this, that, and third. I'm like, you're not supposed to be able to get the 24-year-olds that are good looking, because the guys that are 30 and 40 are going to hit them. Like, that's just how it is. Like, they're going to win because they just have more resources. They have more tenure. They're better at conversation. Their level of manipulation, if you will, they're going to be able to run laps around you. Even for me, like if I'm trying to talk to a girl that's 36 or something like that, she's going to be way more mentally able to manipulate me just by tenure, by age, by experience. And she's going to be a lot more different. And so, like it's like, you're not supposed to win at certain times, especially as a guy. And, unfortunately on the other side, when we go back to this for the women, it's on the opposite side. But the truth is very hard to identify. It's very hard to quantify, and different truths exist in different realms. So for a guy people that live in Saudi Arabia, for example, like, the truth is women should not be walking out with their butts out and their chest out and stuff like that. But if you go in a certain bar around here, people of the same gender can sleep together. People can be transgender. People can have everything naked, and it's totally fun. And it's totally normal, and it's empowering. And it's like, this is what life is about. And so I think the truth is always adaptable in certain situations. And this is the hard reality to face, because if you exist in a certain room with certain people, their truth might be different than yours. And in order for you to survive and be functional in that environment, you have to operate by the truth of the general norm in order to win. It's politically correct, morally correct, and, in that area, what's culturally correct. Does that make sense?
I hear your opinion. I like it. This is where, I just wanted to hear your point of view on it. And do I agree with all of it? I agree with parts of it. I definitely agree with the thing that seemed to be the overall arching theme, which is acceptance. Can you have acceptance for what is? You don't always have to agree with what is, but can you at least accept with what it is? Some people would say that, like you said, that one bar lifestyle. Some people would say, "Ooh, that's not, I don't find that appropriate." Or they may say, like you said, the Saudi Arabian lifestyle, like, "Ooh, that's too restrictive. I don't find that appropriate." Well, each person's opinion of what they believe is right is their belief systems. This is what they believe is right. And so if you try to get into political or economical, or you start getting into what I believe your sexual lifestyle should be, it becomes highly subjective and polarized this day and age, because they're missing that piece of acceptance. Now, you also did that breakdown of rationalization for opportunity. And that's the difference between a success mind and a failure mind. And that's something I don't want to glaze over. It's a big deal what you just did there, where one person sees just, I hate that, and another person goes, wait, that's possible? I can do that? Like, it's the same scenario where one person will be filled with resentment, hatred, and anger, where another is like, I'm inspired and I see opportunity and I can't wait to work. Like, it's the same scenario, but you look at it in two different ways. And so this is why the subjectivity of acceptance is really the practice. Even when I do most grief work, loss is one of the hardest things people have. The guys who are homeless, living in your car, you lost. Something happened. Something happened where you got your ass kicked. Well, how are you going to handle your loss is going to reveal you to you. What kind of guy are you? What kind of woman are you? Like, this is going to show this is it. Do you work your ass off and, get really clever on the street there? Like, as far as I've seen some guys who had a sign on the side of the road. He had like a bullseye that he put on him and said, throw your quarters at me as hard as you can. Is it adhering to the dark side of humans who want to throw money at somebody? Yeah, but there's more than enough people I saw who just went in that change section, grabbed a handful, and just out the window fastballed it at this dude. Yeah, he's going to take a couple nicks on him. But that dude had a lot of money really quick. Like, it's opportunity. And so I got to give you testament to that. But the truth part of it, she's lying about her body count and you're lying about your money. Well, this is really just one of those things where a lot of people can't handle the reality of what it really is without having judgment and shame and guilt and blame and offendedness or whatever it would be, where people's opinions now become the fact. We're in a tricky game right now.
It's just, sorry to interrupt here, but you should always stand on your beliefs as well. It's like twofold. So like, let's say somebody says, I'm born again. And a girl comes and says, oh, I'm a virgin. Like, I've literally met people like this. Like, oh, I'm a virgin. I've kind of reborn my body. And it's like, that's not true. That's not true. And this is where it's like really difficult to kind of gauge this, because whatever you say may be wrong to her. And you may be violating her truth, which is like we get into this PC conversation here. Like, okay, my truth, like, this is it is her opinion. If you live in delusion, you will, like, I think a small amount of optimism and a small amount of like very, very calculated delusion can be very good. For example, during a breakup, right? It's good to have a delusional mindset sometimes where, you may overcorrect certain behavior because you're so addicted to this person. So like during a breakup, like if someone's very addicted and very in love with someone, you have to create some kind of delusional mindset where you can find better than them, where you can do better than them, and you can heal out of the relationship. And you can get into ideas of religion where like God wanted this to happen, this was meant to happen, this is an opportunity for you to get better, this is all meant to happen. And you can start to invoke these kind of mindsets that actually help somebody to get better out of it overcorrects almost because you're so delusional in the opposite way.
It's called the bargaining phase when people are growing through grief. That's your bargaining phase. This is where you start creating unrealistic fantasies to make it so you can move away from hell, even though it still hurts like fuck when you realize that's not true too.
And that is also good to bend your truth in certain aspects there. But once again, if I go to someone that's transgender and I'm like, this guy converted into being a girl, I'm like, you're not a girl, you're a guy. You're always going to be a guy. You can't win. There's no winning in this particular situation. And then it becomes, okay, what area of truth are we operating in? Are we operating in biology? Because then you would win. Are we operating in political nature? Then he may win. Morally correct. I mean, you might have a stalemate in some aspects. Like it really depends. And so as long as your truth is always going to be your truth. And that's just the reality of it. I might think that, this religion is the best religion or that religion is the best religion. And it's like, you can't fight faith and beliefs. And there are certain things though, by results and by, the truth of business is, I've never seen someone that runs a clean business, that works hard, that does the right things. He's not going to win. Some people say that, in order to be a millionaire, you have to cheat. You have to be someone that hurts somebody. Like, you don't have to. And I've noticed that. But that's their reality. And that's always going to be their reality. And that's always going to be their perception. So right. You have to be
make them then
very
say,
much.
If they're successful, then you're bad.
Correct.
Which would make it so their opportunities will now be deleted because they would think if they took an opportunity to make them successful, they would then now no longer be good.
It's a limiting belief.
Correct.
It's a limiting belief, right? And so, I think that it's hard to you have to really focus on what you think makes sense for you. Like there's people that like 50-50 relationships, for example. Some people are like very against it. I think that it doesn't make sense. This is not good. They'll say that. But then there's people that say, 50-50 is good. Like, I don't mind splitting the bills with my husband in certain ways. I don't mind doing this. And
I have a lady I trained who's Dutch, and we talked about going Dutch on everything. And she's like, I don't know why that's weird because it's normal here. I'm like, well, that's why they call it going Dutch. She's like, yeah, our culture, it's very normal to go 50-50. Going Dutch came from being Dutch.
It is very normal in Europe for girls to pay for their own. Like I've noticed that too. But if you order her Uber and you pay for her meal, it's a big grand gesture. Whereas here in the States, there's a whole world around it, but it's like, it's expected. It's like he should. If he doesn't, then I'm not going to go on the second date, blah, blah. And it's like, kind of like, what's funny? You say about accountability here. I when I did that interview, I asked these girls, okay, what is that minimum income you look for? And like, one of the girls is like $500,000, right? Okay. Then I was like, what should a man bring to the relationship? And then the answers were like, it's not about money. It's about how he treats me. It's about this. It's about that. And it's like completely opposite. And, it's like you get brain damage from it sometimes, but I get it. And, like there's a lot of podcasts that do content like this. And I'm not like one of them because it's a repetitive conversation that happens over and over. But that delusion, you might be able to fix a few people and you might be able to change their mindset on what is actually the truth. But they're still going to operate in that mindset because they think that whatever they're doing is completely right. And you know what's messed up? They'll be reinforced by the guys out there that will agree with them, that will say yes. And their girlfriends are like, as he should. I mean, I don't think that's a lot of money. Like there's people out there like that. And there's guys out there that will say, oh, I should get a 10 out of 10. She needs to have 36 double Ds and this, that. And there's guys that will say, oh yeah, like you should get that. Like that is what the norm is. Look at every video online with porn. That is exactly what women should be like. Women should be perfectly clear and have all the hair shaven and whatever. Like they can live in that delusion. They may not get results from it, but they can live with it. And I think they figure it out when it's too late.
It seems like they do. I really enjoy, because most of my work is in belief systems. And so I love that what you're saying does make a lot of sense, that people's perceptions are their reality. It's not untrue. And I think you said the very first sentence was always stand on your beliefs. And I would change stand on to always challenge your beliefs. And I think that you should always challenge, not only be willing to have your beliefs challenged, but also challenge your own shit. Like, this is the reason why is, do beliefs require facts to be beliefs?
Beliefs require faith. They don't require facts. They don't at all.
With that being a part of this, if we're not challenging our belief to go, is it authentic? Is it true to myself? Is it truly something that I would live and die for because I've broken it down to the DNA? If you haven't done this, then you're not able to really stand on this without being radicalized or, eccentric or something, that's out there. Do you want to know a good way people would know whether they are or are not bullshit? If you don't like having questions asked about it, you're in that category. If you can't answer with authenticity, you're in this bullshit category. Excuses, the best lies are 95% true. And so if anybody ever challenges your belief systems and you get triggered, it's because there's bullshit there. If you're able to go, like, no, I really can explain it. I'll tell you exactly why I believe what I believe with no hesitation. You may be able to say, I can be truthful with you.
I think that anybody that opens themselves up to question and like change, like even the things I'm saying in today, right? They may change in 20 years. They very much may change. There may be new evidence that comes up, and then you have to be very open to understanding it. And I think that's hard for people to do because people can be very egotistical about what they say. There's many times in life in general that I've been wrong about things, and I'm like, okay, yeah, there's new information here. There's new information that is actually like proving me wrong, and it's good to grab onto that because partly it's like if I grab this new information and I'm now on the side of correct, then I'm more refined and I'm more correct, which is a good thing. It's a win for me. But yeah, I think a lot of times accountability is very hard to find, especially in today's generation. I think that our future generations are going to have a lot of problems. I really worry about them. And I think that, with the dating market today, it's going to hit a low and it's going to spike back up. It's going to start rebuilding because the marriage rates for women are very low right now. The men are also struggling to find women here, and they're struggling. Like suicide rates are higher, violence is higher, and I don't really know. Like, it's not the solution is go marry girls overseas. It's not even that. It's more so like, once again, we have to come together and we have to stop blaming one another, and we have to be more focused on like, hey, men are the solution, women are the solution. And I think that we have a lot of great things in this country and a lot of great things in general in the world. I think social media can be very beneficial. I think it'd be amazing. It's a great platform to market on. But at the same time, it can be a double-edged sword. And typically things that are very, very good can be very, very bad.
Well, it's if it's a tool or it's a weapon.
Yeah, it's like, really if you like look at nuclear weapons kept world peace for a long period of time, even though they're the most destructive things out there. So it goes both ways.
Yeah. Well, I do a training on that too, where I'm like, is it a tool or a weapon? These things right here. Is this a tool or is this a weapon? You're like, oh, well, it depends on how you use it. What about a hammer? Is it a tool or is it a weapon? Well, 100%. How you use it. What about this thing right here? Is this a tool or is this a weapon? What about this thing? About what we use with the words we say? Are they tools or are they weapons? And this is one of those things. One thing I want to give testament to you as far as accountability and opportunity for authenticity is you're familiar, of course, with Stoicism and Marcus Aurelius. I'm assuming, yes. So
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, he was a king of Rome at the height of Rome. Like, it was a big deal. He was the last philosopher king. And his ability to do things is still written about. His memoirs are supposed to be burned because that's his journal. He's like, burn this. And then people read it and they're like, possibly one of the greatest books ever written. This is this guy's journal. Now, him being the king of Rome during the height of Rome meant he was the most powerful man on earth at that time. Like, Rome was the superpower. That was the big thing at that time. And during that time, he would take in new information, challenge the information, and then reserve the right to change his mind if the information is more valuable or useful or seems more correct. Now, this has been very helpful for the polarization, the blame, the shame, the judgment, the hate, the you're bad, you're good, you're right, you're wrong. All of this, if we challenge our belief systems, if you adapt the idea and concept of, at that point in time, the most powerful man on earth, well, I want to listen to understand, and if it's more useful, I reserve the right to change my mind. And people may argue, well, belief systems aren't that easy to change. Here's a challenge to that sentence. Yes, it is. Do you know why? One new piece of information can completely change your entire belief system. If somebody with no faith at all has an angel or somebody show up and go, it's fucking real, dude, touch me, here's some angel shit, it's real, you're being judged hard, change your shit. You go, holy fuck, I talked to a fucking angel. That's happened. Now my faith is now in question. Or if you believe you're in a healthy relationship and you come home with your partner in bed with someone else, it's just one new piece of information. It's just one change. And your entire belief system is now shattered. If you're defined by your career and I am status, I am power, I am fame, all it takes is one lockdown to completely destroy your entire dream. Just one new piece of information can make you have to shut down. This is one of those things where what does it take to create and change a belief system? I think we need to challenge it to the DNA. And even if you disagree, reserve the right to change your mind. And if you have that type of acceptance, it gives you a lot of power and fortitude and will open up a lot of opportunities for people to be able to hang out with you in this single digit percentile.
I agree. I think that one thing I'll say too is a funny thing to add to that is when I was first making money in my business, I thought I was like the richest man in the world. I thought I was invincible. And then I started making a lot more money. And then I realized how broke I was because I was making so much money. And I realized like some people are making the amount of money I'm making in a year in 1 hour on their yacht, signing a contract and it's done deal. And I felt you open up into a different world of money when you're making a lot. And it's very interesting. Like when I first started making my first, like my second year in the business, I was like at 200K. I was like, I'm balling. But then once you do more, you start to realize there are people that make millions a day. And there are people that make, like a few billion a year, which is insane, which is deca millions really a day. It's insane. And so, one small like viewpoint, exactly what you said, it can change everything. I think that people should always challenge the way that they think. And that's very hard to do, especially as you get older. It's very easy to do when you're young because your mind is more malleable. You have neuroplasticity really allows you to change in ways and you're experiencing things for the first time many times. But as you get older, certain things that if you stabilize in certain ways, you're reinforced over and over. Another thing I'll say is like the algorithm itself. If you're watching content on men are not this or men are not that, you'll just get hit by content that's just reinforces and rebounds that. And so that one piece of information might be stacked against a plethora of an algorithm just telling you this, that, and the third. And to like the certain type of music or to subscribe to the certain belief system, it can be very hard to unwire that behavior. So it's tricky. People have to be very cautious with the information they take in. And I think that reflection and meditation and, like the meditations of Marcus Aurelius, like this type of stuff, it's not as common anymore because we're constantly looking at our cell phones 24/7. We're constantly stimulated. We can't go anywhere in the car if the music is not playing. We can't go to the bathroom without our cell phones. We can't do anything without anything. We can't eat food without watching TV. We want to order food. We Uber Eats it. We want to go on the website. Like, it's like not loading. It's like, what the heck? I remember the days where it would take like 5 minutes for a page to load up. And I would be so happy to listen to 13 seconds of a ringtone that I would buy on my phone for $3.99, which was a lot of money back then. Now it's like, if I don't get the song right away, it's like, this is not working. And it's pornography as well. It's instant social gratification. It's social media. It's instant gratification. That is the problem with society today. But real happy, healthy relationships and real work takes years. It takes decades to become relevant in a business. It takes many years of work to get big. And real relationships they're boring. They're not crazy. They're very chill and calm. And in a world full of stimulation and chaos, your relationship should be a reprieve and a break from all the chaos that exists. And, you're not going to get it right away with work. It's going to take years to build it up. Even in the podcasting space, I say this too with a lot of people, 97% of podcasts don't have a second episode. So it's really amazing that you have 100 episodes, this being the 100th. 97% don't have a second episode. And most people think like, oh, this doesn't get views. Like, oh, I'll give up. And they can't do it,
That is why I didn't know that number. Actually, you're going to laugh. I really don't even, this is a hobby that I do for fun. And it's also been really good for networking. I get to hang out with you today. What a very cool thing, and this space has made it so these opportunities show up, and my friend group and my network has changed dramatically because like there's talent being exchanged right now where this is a very high level conversation. People may not understand in my world and in your world, these are high level conversations that most people will never challenge, will never research, and will never get this far. And so to even listen to two minds like ours talk back and forth, they will not have privy to. They will not understand this. And they'll go, these are two new guys that are both powerful in their industries. I need to learn. I need to figure out what these guys are doing. I need to be more like that. I see how he carries himself. I see how he sees things. I listen to the way he breaks it down. His observations seem on point. I need to learn more. Like, this is a very cool thing that we can do. But I think it's amazing that most people are so caught up in the results, they forget the purpose. They forget that they don't have a target. When you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time. And they go, I think I should make it so I can just be famous. Good fucking luck. It's not how that goes. You do it because it's what you're doing. You do it because you enjoy doing it. I actually didn't know it was my 100th episode until the girl who posts all my shit is like, hey, we're on 100. And I'm like, and this was Sumi? Let's go. That's awesome. So I'm like, what an excellent celebration that we can have in just passion and just fortitude and in just hard ass work, which this is more of my fun stuff. I go into hell and help people out of depression, addiction, anxiety, and we know how to beat them. And I've fought some of the nastiest fucking demons that you can fight. This is fun stuff. This is just a good time together. And I'm very honored and very privileged to be able to have this time with you, man. Like, it is a high honor. I appreciate this very much.
Likewise, man. I appreciate it too.
We just rocked 3 hours, brother. How you feel about that? That went by pretty quick.
Pretty quick, man. Like a blink of an eye.
Pretty amazing. Sumi, we're going to have to do more because I feel like as much as we just dropped, I feel like with how much we've got to share, this is the tip of the iceberg. And so what a very cool way to spend a Friday for me. I very much enjoy this. And it is my pleasure, my privilege to be able to have this time with you. So thank you for being my 100th episode.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you for having me here. It was a very good conversation. We talked for 3 hours, man. We should definitely do more, and I'd love to be on in future episodes.
Cool. Is there anything that you want to share or promote to be able to like help more people, or are you like, you know what, I just want them to take this and soak it in and do better? Is there anything you want to guide people towards?
The easiest way, if anybody wants to look at my content, or I don't really have any books or anything right now to promote or anything like that, people are more than welcome to message me on my Instagram. They can book with me there. There's a link in my bio, but my Instagram is just Sumi Basani, SUMEDHBASANI. And you can just message me there. Our TikTok, our Spotify, our Apple, our YouTube, Thoughtcast Official. You can find us there and look at all of our content.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, brother. I appreciate you.
For sure.
Click on the button and you can become the hero in your own story. It's time to start making the choices to change. And the evolution that you're going to do begins with choosing the next step. This is the way. And together, we're always stronger.